Buckle up, boys. Time to go to work. Conspiracy theory.
I think the Lakers are not practicing at that billionaire's house. I think they found out that a couple players tested positive, and they're all quarantining together, drinking off the same cup, eating off the same plates, and using one bathroom. Get everyone immune.
Is it more of an advantage if your players are testing positive now? I mean, you're not hoping for it, but there's a benefit to this. If your starting five is already tested through this, got the antibodies or whatever it might be.
Of the king!
I am immortal. It's an advantage.
Man, you're like a genius, man.
Welcome to the Dan Patrick Show.
Gum is permitted.
Hosted by Dan Patrick and joined by the four Danettes.
But you can't spit it out.
Oh, come on. Come on.
Broadcasting from the Mercedes Man Cave, this is Dan Patrick.
I had the under. We made it to the Friday here. It's hour one. Dan and the Danettes. Dan Patrick Show. It's a meat Friday. I have no idea what's on the Traeger today, and I don't care. I'm sure it'll be great. Come on in. Stay a while. I'm going to try to have some fun today. Positives. Bob Uecker is going to join us. Mr. Baseball. Bob Uecker will join us, celebrating 50 years doing Brewer games. He's been in the game, 65 years? So Bob Uecker will join us a little bit later on. I just wanted somebody to come on and tell stories, have some fun, maybe say something positive about baseball. We'll also look at the decision. Don Van Natta, ESPN investigative reporter, will look back on when LeBron took over the airwaves and said, I'm taking my talents to Miami. We'll go behind the scenes. There's a 30 for 30 coming out on the mothership about this, and Don will join us to give you some details there, because there's a couple of questions that I have about the decision. By the way, LeBron got roughed up in the media after the decision because he had the audacity to say, I'm taking my talents to Miami. Kobe did that years before that. As a high schooler, Kobe said, I'm taking my talents to the NBA. You know, when you have that press conference where people, these kids are going to announce where they're going to play. Kobe had a press conference, sunglasses on top of his head, and he said, I'm taking my talents to the NBA. LeBron does it, and all of a sudden, oh, did you hear LeBron taking his talents to Miami? Why can't he say he's just going to go play for the Miami Heat? Did Dwayne Wade know LeBron was going to go to the Miami Heat? Because that's been out there. Did ESPN know prior to LeBron sitting down with Jim Gray that LeBron was going to Miami? Because of the location in Greenwich, Connecticut, this came out. There was such a frenzy. We were on the air that day, and I just remember seeing all of this information, and everybody had an opinion. He's staying in Cleveland. He's going to the Knicks. And Stephen A. Smith, to his credit, was, I think, the first to say that he's hearing LeBron was leaning towards Miami. But nobody knew what was going on. It was a well-kept secret. And also, LeBron using the platform, and that's one of the few times we've seen an athlete who is empowered to be able to have his own TV show to announce a decision. And I applaud athletes. I've recommended, suggested that you can control this if you want to. It makes my job tougher, but if I was Tiger Woods or Usain Bolt, or you can go down Patrick Mahomes, I would use my platform to announce what I wanted to do. You can monetize that. You can control it. Now, I like that they say things publicly and that we can have investigative reporters find out things, sources. But if you're able to do this and you can do this, then I don't see why you shouldn't do it. But boy, it bothered a lot of people. Oh, young athletes taking control here, got the platform, and I'm going to take over the airwaves here. Sit back and let's wait. We're going to drag this out. Plus, I think the ESPN people in the control room were really upset that Jim Gray was dragging this out. Now, I don't know if Jim Gray was, what was the plan? You had an hour to fill. So I don't know if, Jim Gray was told, Jim, you got to drag this out. Because, we could have just said, hey, then LeBron joins us. LeBron, where are you going? I'm taking my talents to Miami. All right, good night, everybody. Like, you had to drag it out a little bit. But, it was really secretive. So Don will join us coming up next hour to talk about this. 877-3DP Show, email address dp@danpatrick.com. We mentioned yesterday Vince Carter retires at the age of 43, Hall of Famer, going into broadcasting. Liverpool wins the Premier League.
We did it, Dan.
Yay! My Reds, we did it.
Yeah, where's your red today?
Oh, you know what? That would have been too obvious. I don't wear green on St. Patty's Day.
Well, I just figured you two long-suffering fans finally.
And I was trying to think how long I've been a Liverpool fan. And I was thinking, is it March?
Well, it's like a child. Do you say your kid is 18 months old or a year and a half old?
I think March is when I started.
Early March.
Yeah.
Like March 4th.
When they shut down the Premier League.
How much of a lead did they already have at that? They were up by 40 points. In it.
You start cheering for Usain Bolt at like the 70-meter mark.
Yeah. That's who I thought was going to win.
That's great.
Let's see. This program is brought to you by LegalZoom. Need to make it legal, make it LegalZoom.com. And since they're not a law firm, you don't have to leave your home. You don't get charged by the hour. Visit LegalZoom.com for more information today. I said I was going to try to be positive. And I don't know if I can be. Because the NFL owners met yesterday, and their future plans are starting to take shape. Now, there's still a lot of questions here. And I know I get people who remind me, yeah, didn't you say that the first month of the season could be moved to the back part of the season? Yes, I did. That's what my source told me. Prior to the release of the schedule, I was told that. The Hall of Fame game, that preseason game has already been canceled. That's the first event that the NFL has canceled during the pandemic. Pro football's been able to hold back on details of how they plan to come back. They don't have to. Now, their chief medical officer, David Allen Sills, he was on the show and he stressed flexibility and adaptability. And that sounds great. I don't know what that means. They're going to let teams know, they're letting them know that training camp starts July 28th. That's about a month away. There's some challenges here. Training camp rosters are much bigger than anything you have with baseball, with basketball, with hockey. Teams need to have a handle on what players are going to be doing at the facility and then away from it. The at the facility, I'm fine with. It's what happens when you're away from the facility. You're not in a bubble. And I know we all want football back, and it's a head start here that we kind of get a better idea of all of this. Here's Jay Glazer. The great Jay Glazer talking about some of the concerns owners have.
They tell everybody that July 28th is the date they're going to come back, but there were other dates that were discussed beforehand, and they were going back and forth, and this is different territory. So some people are like, hey, let's go back July 15th and have like almost that's basically their OTA time, and somebody else, no, let's do July 10th, and we really have like somewhat of a week, basically, which is like your off-season workout program, get them acclimated, get our systems down, and then they kind of get going back and forth on that, and then they decide, okay, let's do July 28th. So the good thing is that there's a lot of minds working on it. The bad thing is, again, because there's no answer that's going to satisfy everybody, it's, okay, which of these ideas can work the best and keep everybody the safest?
That's Jay Glazer. And look, I'm cautiously optimistic that they'll start on time, and maybe it's not a big deal that the Hall of Fame game was canceled. It's the week after that I'm curious about. And are we going to start on time? I'll stand by what I was told, and my source is impeccable on this, that there are plans. There are plans in place for the season to start later. Now, they're not going to make that public. And somebody's not appreciating that I'm making it public now. But they have to look at this and say, what if? Contingency plans. They're not going to say we have contingency plans because the NFL just plows right through. But I just want everybody to understand where we are with the NFL. As much as we think the NFL gets it done, this won't stop the NFL. It can, and it probably will. Now, to what extent, I'm not sure. And I don't know if we're any safer in October than we are in September. I have no idea. All I'm telling you is what I'm told. Because whenever I bring this up, I get people who respond, "You're not a doctor." I'm not trying to play one on radio either. I'm only telling you what a source has told me and maintained this information for the last couple of months since the schedule was released. Even prior to that, I was told by an impeccable source there are contingency plans to start the season a month later. Right? And he stayed with that. That's the information he has. There is a contingency plan. There's contingency plans, plural. The one I'm talking about is they would start in October. Yeah, Paul.
Do you think the NFL would prefer, with their plan, to, instead of delaying the start of the season a month, start the season on time and be ready to hit pause for a week or 2 or 3 because you still have February to work with? They always have that month of February where there's nothing going on. Like if we start on time, we could always hit the pause button for 3 weeks if we had to.
Once again, I don't know what their medical community is saying in what they expect to happen and how they're going to be able to keep everybody safe and healthy. You just have so many people involved. There's so many players. I mean, you're dealing with rosters. College football, it's an even bigger problem. You have rosters that are twice the size, and you have less control over college-age students. So Tom Brady is still working out. He had an FDR quote. We have nothing to fear but fear itself. And what do you make of that, McLovin?
I like his historical quoting, but it's pretty controversial. He seems to be not shying away from controversy right now.
Brady's making it clear that he's not going to let anything get in the way of him developing chemistry with his new teammates. Several players and employees tested positive for COVID-19 over the last couple of weeks. The NFL Players Association medical director, Dr. Tom Mayer, has recommended that players stop holding private practices together until the start of training camp. Brady isn't following that. He had a Thursday session. He and his new teammates hit the field this week, and Florida is in the middle of a severe outbreak of COVID-19. But Brady is not backing down. Why doesn't the NFL say something to him? Can they? Can they fine him? Can they bench him? Take away his helmet? Yes, McLovin.
Yeah, Florio reported that they're not going to fine him, but it was definitely an option. And we don't know that for sure, by the way, that they're definitely not going to look into this. You're not supposed to, there are all these rules about team workouts anyway, even before all this happened.
Yes, Todd.
He also said, ask not what the Buccaneers can do for you. What is that? That kind of came out of left field. It doesn't make any sense.
That's JFK, though.
Oh, that'd be JFK,
yeah.
Right.
Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country.
Yeah, Rob.
Yes, McLovin.
So I understand him working out, obviously, but why does he have to make like a thing about it on social media? Wouldn't he just want to quietly work out and not draw attention to this?
I don't know if he can quietly do it because you have a helicopter following him around.
Does it feel like he's sort of overdoing social media because he's been kind of contained for 15 years in New England? Now he's like Mr. Social.
The fact that he did the Howard Stern show after he left the Patriots, I went, wait a minute. Who is this guy? So maybe it's unplugged. Tom Brady unplugged. And this is the biggest thing that Tampa's had in how many years? That Brady is there. Brady's working out. He's getting together with those new teammates. Yeah, McLovin.
He did a TikTok dance yesterday. It was amazing. No, that didn't happen.
He did not.
I don't really even know what that is.
I almost believed you, but then I realized that I don't think he can dance.
I think I believed McLovin for a second there. That seems like something Brady would do now.
Well, no, he said amazing. He said that it was amazing, and I don't think Brady has any rhythm.
We should bring back our 5-minute TikTok discussion pre-show yesterday. Who's it? Because my wife's on TikTok now.
Oh, no.
You got her onto it. You mentioned TikTok. She's like, what's going on here on TikTok?
Oh, I'm sorry about that. I get 7 TikTok videos a day from my youngest daughter, and it has to do with a cat. I mean, there's no substance there. And I say to her, why are you sending me the cat? She goes, why not? And I go, okay. And then if I don't have a comment on the TikTok video, she's like, no, I haven't heard from you. And it has nothing to do with her life. It has to do with the damn TikTok video. Yes, Todd.
But if they show a dog hugging another dog or a baby hysterical laughing or motivational speakers, and there's all kinds of cool stuff on there. I know there's other stuff on there, too, that I'm going to be accused of.
Here we go.
There's plenty
Let me
of
tell you
things
something, okay? No grown man is going on TikTok to see puppy dogs being hugged. And like maybe there's like some comics on there that have some funny stand-up.
clips
There's no
of George
grown man
Carlin.
going on there. No grown man is putting TikTok on his phone.
You can find George
to
Carlin
watch
clips
that.
on YouTube.
Well, Todd is technically a grown man.
Yes, he is, technically.
Do you have a TikTok account?
I do not have an account.
Okay.
I have it. I have the app on my phone, which I never downloaded. I think it used to be something else, and
That's
then
the
it became
same thing.
It used to be something else and became TikTok. Oh my God.
I never actually set up any kind of TikTok.
It just showed up on my phone.
I don't communicate with anybody. I can't
Okay.
put any likes on
All
there.
righty.
You're just viewing.
Nah, TikTok. Yeah, McLovin.
I'll say it up for Todd because there are people in a boardroom somewhere saying, I'm hearing the kids are on TikTok. We got to get on TikTok. Corporate brands, media outlets, everywhere. I've seen media outlets flocking to
That's
TikTok.
not why Todd's on TikTok.
No.
But I'll quote lines from like people
They-
dancing on TikTok, and my kids will be like, "Please stop going on TikTok. That's not for you." So I've been warned by my kids and my wife that I have no business going through anything. On
You
TikTok.
have no business being on TikTok, but you still do it.
I do take a look and see what's going on over there.
But
But there's all kinds of things on there. It's not like some kind of what you're making it out to be.
I know. But then you send me the TikTok video.
I sent you a video of Joe Torre going off on an umpire
No,
and a comedy clip. It was all perfectly clean stuff.
You've sent me a couple of TikTok videos, and then if I don't comment, then I feel like I let you down.
I do like it when I get the thumbs up or a smiley face or
But you-
the letter K or something that I know you read it and we're still friends.
I'm going to issue a cease and desist.
Brady's lawyers?
I'm going to bring in Brady's lawyers to have you stop sending me TikTok videos.
What if it's just someone with some kind of motivational?
No, I don't need to be
I'll have
motivated.
like Denzel Washington talking at a college.
No.
That's actually what the TikTok is just booming because of all their motivational speech videos that are available there. It's actually their IPO is just through the roof.
Oh, that's their
because of
wheelhouse.
There's a lot of John Mulaney on there.
motivational speech videos that very popular amongst grown men.
Yeah, you can't do it.
There's pranks and stuff. They're squirting water, like moms at their like infant babies to get their reaction to what a bunch of water squirting in their face is.
You can stop. You could have stopped. You could have backed away. I have to distance myself.
You should leave the building.
I'm going to have to distance myself from you.
You can always get rid of your phone like Brady did. Just throw it in the ocean and step on it. No one needs to know my communication with you with that.
Yeah, see.
It's those squirting videos that Todd likes on TikTok of babies in water.
Yeah. Don't we have a video of you being sprayed with water?
We do.
Yeah.
I got into that outside there with
don't I know.
with the hose on top of the car. And
the
sponge.
making of the calendar. And I was out back. It was a little. I had to take a shower when I went home. I felt dirty because Todd is. He was almost reacting in slow motion, but he wasn't. And there's music playing. It was like in his head. There's like White Snake music playing, and he's.
It's like a Tony Katane moment. It was.
Yeah.
I was encouraged to, act a little, provocative, but I think I took it to an uncomfortable level for everyone involved.
You did. And I remember being out there and instructing the person who was spraying you on how to spray you. And I went, what has happened to my career? Yes, Paulie.
It was the first time in my life I ever wanted to be blind in both eyes. I prayed for blindness. Hit me now, big guy.
You're blind in one eye.
I saw that video for 4 seconds and I could still remember it. I'm not joking. I ran the other way.
It's so hot. What month of the year is that? Are we coming up on that?
Sorry, that's
throwing up in their mouths.
Do you know what month you are when you're getting hosed down?
I just know that I was puckering and making all kinds of facial expressions that had nothing to do with the scene that we were shooting.
I'm surprised you didn't put it on TikTok, Todd.
You think I could get some likes for that? This generation has big self-esteem issues. You're not popular unless you have a certain amount of likes and followers. There's nothing good about you.
You have some self-esteem.
I do.
It's not just this generation. All right, let me take a break here. We'll get to phone calls coming up. It's a Friday. I want to laugh.
We're back.
I'm trying.
Your Reds did it.
I'm trying. My Liverpool Reds did it.
Never walk alone.
I love Sunderland, but I love Liverpool too. I've loved Liverpool longer than I've loved Sunderland, and I started loving Liverpool in March. I got to call Rebecca Lowe and just tell her, Remember it was Leicester City a couple of years ago? I know. I told her. I said, I really think Leicester City is going to win. They're the team, the odds. She goes, first of all, it's Leicester City. It's Leicester City. I go, okay, but they're going to win this year. Leicester is going to win. All right, let me take a break here. 20 after the hour. Phone calls will be welcome. We come up with a poll question there, McLovin. You got one?
I got a couple options
Okay.
here. I got a little NFL action.
No, I like it.
Off-field controversy issues.
Oh, boy. All right. Take a break. Back after this in the Dan Patrick Show. Check things all the time. Email, Instagram. What about checking something as important as your credit? Discover makes it quick and easy. Best of all, it's free. Discover now offering FICO credit scores. Scores used by 90% of the top lenders. You get it for free, even if you're not a customer. And it's something that you should know. You need to know your FICO credit score, especially if you're going to buy a house, take out a loan. Checking your score won't hurt your credit, and you can check each month for changes. The Discover Credit Scorecard, free for everyone. Learn more at discover.com/credit scorecard. Limitations apply. So the Arnold Palmer Award.
Yeah, I'm so proud of that, yes.
Yeah. And you'd met Arnie.
Arnie and I had become friends. We had hung out. I got to go play golf with him. I went to Pittsburgh with him. I went down and played golf with him in Florida a few times.
Isn't that weird, though, that you're like going...
Every time I hung out with him, he wouldn't let me call him Mr. Palmer. And, I'm Southern, and that's just hard for me.
Yeah.
But he wouldn't let me call him Mr. Palmer. He always made me call him Arnie. And, we'd be sitting there, and I'm sitting there, in Latrobe or something, and he's telling the joke. And I'm just like, I'm sitting next to frigging Arnold Palmer.
He might have been saying, I'm sitting next to Darius Rucker.
No, he was like, why are you here again?
Who did you have that experience with as a musician, where you go, holy smokes?
Oh, one of my bucket list things was to meet McCartney, and so I got to go to his show, and I got to meet him before the show. And I'm with my kids and my wife, and we're there, and he walks out of the back, and I'm telling you, it was all I could do not to cry. It was all I could do not to cry. And he walks over, and we start talking, and he's great, and he's Sir Paul, he's so nice and everything, and it's great. And I'm sitting there, and my daughter, I love her so much, she just looked over and said, Dad, are you about to cry? But yeah, McCartney really shook me up.
But you didn't ask for a picture, did you?
No, we were there to take a picture, so I didn't have to ask.
Oh,
yeah, it was cool.
Okay.
All right.
Cool. Did you ask music questions?
Yeah, no, we just talked a little bit about music. I didn't really get really geeky because he was about to go on.
Like it's weird. Like, remember Chris Farley on Saturday Night Live when he was like, "You remember when you were with the Beatles? It was awesome." And then what do you say?
What do you say?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I got a million things I could say, but all I said was thank you because he's part of the reason I'm here today.
What's the song you wish that you wrote that the Beatles wrote?
Oh, Hey Jude.
Yeah.
The perfect song.
Really?
Yeah. The perfect song.
Have you ever covered that?
No, I'm not going to sing that song. It's already been done. It's been done. I mean, I know I'm just a singer in a cover band that got really lucky, but that one's perfect.
But you guys started out as a cover band.
Yeah. I'm still a cover band.
What was your go-to? This is going to slay. This brings the house down.
Dude, there was a moment in our career when we, early on, like this was a year or two into playing, where we played 12 REM songs in our set. 12 REM songs in one set.
Well,
yeah.
you do name drop Michael Stipe a couple of times, don't you?
Like Stipe's my guy.
Yeah,
when I wrote Let Her Cry, I wrote Stipe in there. Yeah. We're still, REM was everything for us. Everything.
But then are you trying to emulate them when you guys start? Like when you start to write songs, are you thinking how REM would do this?
Oh, no. We didn't do it. Not that so
okay.
much. We knew we couldn't. We thought they were the greatest thing since the Beatles. And so we couldn't. We just went out and, we played their songs, and then when we started out writing our songs, we just took it from everywhere that we were, from country and all the stuff we listened to, and came up with our own thing.
Who did you open up for? Biggest name?
Oh goodness, we opened up for a lot of the big names on one-offs. The Allman Brothers, and we played with them, and we played we played festivals and stuff with all the big, we toured Europe with Slash's Snake Pit, Van Halen, and and Bon Jovi, and we were playing Rock am Ring, and we were playing the big 80,000 seat places, and it was unbelievable. And we have a great story about that. We every time Hootie plays, before we go on, we toast, and the last thing we say is, "Here's the Slash." And the reason we say that is we were on that tour, and we're playing Rock am Ring in Germany, and we got our trailers right backed up to Slash's and got windows in the back, and we're about to go on, and we look over, and Slash is over in his trailer with about 12 girls, and we got 13 dudes in our trailer, and we were like, "Here's the Slash." So every night we still toast the Slash. That was 25 years ago.
And rightfully so.
Yeah, absolutely. He's the man.
All righty, McLovin. What kind of poll question did we settle on today?
Okay, we're having Don Van Nett on to talk about the decision. What is the story that we most overcovered in the last 10 years? Off-field stuff. I'll give you the decision. Okay. Deflategate. Ooh. Maybe the Houston Astros scandal. I'm thinking 5 years we're going to look back and say, what was that all about? Those are my three options.
I think the Astros are undercovered.
Yeah, maybe. But now there's emerging that every team was doing something like that. That was sort of my thinking.
True. Remember the Yankees? Remember we were hearing from the Yankees, and they got cheated, and they should have, they should be awarded a World Series, or I don't think so. Yes, McLovin.
Actually, my original question, what was the biggest story? And then I put the decision, the Deflategate, Astros, and I was thinking Colin Kaepernick, Michael Sam, those are all I feel like all those stories took over an entire year of the sports media.
I think Deflategate was overcovered. And that was 9 months, and that was constant. And the suspension, man. I mean, Kaepernick is the biggest one that we've had. But if you're talking about the biggest non-serious off-field, well, the Astros cheating is serious.
Oh, come on. It's not that serious.
It's a serious act. I mean, they won the World Series. They cheated in the World Series.
So it's baseball. Everybody's been cheating for the whole sport. Had steroids all over it for 20 years.
Well, I'm just talking about the story.
Yeah, but it was kind of silly. We all laughed at it a little bit, though. It was funny, too. The banging the drum.
Yeah, unless you're a Dodger fan. Or a Yankee fan, might not have been as funny, but just the fact that it was so blatant, and you're going, oh, they're dump, and then you hear that, swack of the bat. Deflategate was overcovered. That took a long time to play out. And
remember the deflator and all those text messages and how we dissected them?
I know. Somebody sent me a Christmas ornament. I have it over here. It's a cell phone, and it's got Brady and Giselle on it. I think I have it. Let me see if I have it hanging off my desk.
They just sent it to you?
No. I've had it.
Oh.
I've had it for a while. But yeah, it's on the side of the desk there. That somebody sent that in as a Christmas ornament, and it's a cell phone with Brady and Giselle on on the front of it. Yes.
A couple other stories that I was looking at. Remember Peyton Manning's free agency and Kevin Durant's free agency? Are those as big as a decision, or is the decision the granddaddy of all free agents?
Peyton's was, and then when you start to hear the backstory of how, they thought he was going to play for the Redskins, and that he had worked out for a couple of teams, and they kept it really, really, really under wraps. Nobody knew that he was working out. I think they had Brandon Stokely show up, and they didn't even tell him, what was happening. Just said, bring your cleats. And Brandon Stokely, who played with Peyton in Indianapolis, did not know that Peyton was going to be, interested in playing for the Broncos. And he shows up, not allowed to bring his cell phone, not allowed to tell anybody he's doing anything, and he's only there to catch footballs from Peyton Manning. And then that was it. The Niners were looking at him, and Harbaugh, I think, stayed in his car. So nobody knew that Harbaugh was watching Peyton Manning throw the football. Like, all of this stuff is, it's cloak and dagger type stuff of just where Peyton Manning was going to go. And, to what lengths some of these teams went to keep it under wraps, because Peyton demanded that it be kept under wraps. So you can imagine Peyton's attention to detail. Teams got a good eye, they got a good feel for that after watching that unfold. Yeah, McLevin.
What do you remember about Kevin Durant? Because I think we were off the day that he signed. And I remember it was another story where, maybe the Knicks. Maybe Kevin Durant's going to be the Knicks.
And I, from the outset, I said he's not coming back. And, I thought the Knicks made the most sense. And that Kyrie would join him. And he did go to New York. He just went to Brooklyn.
No, I'm sorry. I was talking about Golden State with the
that.
Hampton Five. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That was a big deal. The Hampton Five. And that's when he first was rumored to go to the Knicks.
That was a big deal. Big deal. And that was covered, not only prior to, but when it happened, and then the fallout from why would you just join the team that you could have eliminated, should have eliminated, and why not stay? And he took a lot of heat for joining the Golden State Warriors. And he probably still has. Whenever anybody brings up titles, LeBron gets criticized because he left Cleveland to go to Miami to win titles. But LeBron left because we kept saying, you're never going to be Michael Jordan if you don't win titles. And he didn't have a Scottie Pippen. Nobody wanted to go to Cleveland to play. They got Kyrie because, they were bad after LeBron left, and then Kyrie came in there, and, they got him as a number one pick and became his team until LeBron came back in town. But LeBron tried to get Chris Bosh to go to Cleveland. Bosh is like, no, I'm going to South Beach. I'm going to Miami here. But what KD did, LeBron didn't have a good team in Cleveland. KD at least had a team that went toe-to-toe. They could have won the title. So I understand he was chasing titles too, because chasing titles puts you into the top 10 all-time on the basketball list. If KD doesn't have titles, he's not a top 10 player of all time. Great player. Hall of Famer, not one of the top 10 players of all time. It's hard to get into the top 10 if you don't have titles. Is anybody in the top 10 who hasn't won a title? I don't think so. Steph Curry is going to be a top 10 player. If he tacks on 3 more years, he'll be a top 10 player. If they play at a high level, maybe win another title. He's going to be, Barkley's not a top 10 guy. Karl Malone, I think, is a top 10 player. But I'm going to guess he'll be, if you're going to say somebody's going to fall out, Karl Malone will fall out. KD would replace him, or Steph Curry would replace him. You got to win titles. That's what it's all about. I don't know how I got sidetracked on that. Isn't tonight the anniversary of the Hornets, or is that the trade?
I think it was yesterday.
Oh, yesterday.
Last night, I believe, was the trade where
Vlade Divac,
yeah.
So George Shinn, he was the owner of the Hornets, right? And they make this deal. Jerry West makes this deal. And they want, I think, is it like the 13th pick overall that they want? They want Kobe, and that they traded Vlade Divac. And I think George Shinn at the time, the owner, said, I think we just made the best trade in franchise history. Oops. Do I have that right, McLovin?
Yeah, I believe so. I saw that yesterday. That yeah, you absolutely have it right. Also, the Warriors GM was like, I don't think Kobe's ready to play in the NBA, which is technically true because he did struggle as a rookie, but still.
Yeah, Paul.
There's a quote from Mitch Kupchak, who was the Lakers GM at the time. He said he felt like the trade might not go through because I guess in Charlotte when they took Kobe immediately, they noticed all the excitement around a young, exciting player, and they almost pulled the plug on the trade. That's what he had heard in the back and forth.
Charlotte, so the trade was predicated on if you get our guy, Kobe, then we'll send you Vlade. I think. And then and Vlade was very popular with the Lakers. But you're taking an 18-year-old in Kobe and you weren't quite sure what you had. But Jerry West, because Jerry West worked out Kobe, and I think they saw enough where they didn't want anybody else to know how excited they were with what they saw. Yeah, Paul.
Jerry West actually told us that they did 2 workouts with Kobe when he was 17 years old with the Lakers. That they worked Jerry West and the Lakers worked with Kobe's agent to limit the amount of pre-draft workouts with other teams. They found ways to have him not be difficult, but to not do and not schedule as many workouts to minimize the buzz around him. Jerry West told us that and told some other people that as well. The New Jersey Nets were thinking about taking Kobe with the 8th pick, and John Calipari was, and I guess there was some back and forth. I'm not sure who did or who didn't want Kobe, but the Nets were kicking the tires.
Yes, McLovin.
I gotta tell you, the narrative in Philadelphia was Kobe told all 30 teams, "I'm not going to anywhere but LA or New York," and like that's why he felt he would have gone 2, but Arntel, his agent, said, "Don't pick him. He's not coming unless you're the Lakers." That's how we were told, because he said he didn't want to go to the Sixers. And he's a Lower Merion guy.
And it took a long time for Philadelphia fans to forgive him for that, right? I think
he got booed at the All-Star game. But he came back and gave a lot of money to the gym that I put on the map, by the way.
The Perloff family.
Your brother played on the same team with Kobe.
He did, yeah. I mean, my brother was...
Was he on the team?
Yeah, he was captain of the team.
Oh, he was?
But he was not a... he scored maybe 1.3 points per game or something.
But when Kobe joined us, Kobe remembered your brother.
Yeah, I think so.
Or was he being polite?
He's probably being polite.
Either way.
But, the funny thing, I tell this story to you guys, like the team was half Jewish and half African-American. So it was like Kobe to Goldberg over to Schwartz. And they dominated. I'm serious. Like, I don't know if that's even appropriate, but it was a funny dynamic on that team.
Matt in Wisconsin joins us. Hi, Matt. What do you have for me today?
Hi, Dan. 6'4", 220. Dan, I just wanted to get your thoughts. I'm a Division III college basketball coach, and I don't know if you saw yesterday, but the Division I Council extended the recruiting dead period for all Division I sports through August 31st. And interestingly enough, in Division III, as of Friday, June 12th, they opened the floodgates and said we could go out. So I've been on the road the last 2 weeks and can still be on the road. And I just find it unique and wanted to get your thoughts on the consistency, with the NCAA and what their rules are for college coaches across all divisions.
I'm not well versed on it, Matt, to be honest with you. But good luck out on the recruiting trail. Yeah, I'm not aware of this. So they're allowing Division III coaches to go out, but they're not allowing other coaches to go out. But I'm not aware of that. But thank you for the phone call. In 2 seasons in Charlotte, Vlade Divac's numbers, 11 points, 8 rebounds. And at the time, George Shin is saying this might be the best trade in franchise history for us. All right, we'll take a break. We have our play of the day. That's coming up. Also, we have our Discover Moment of the Week coming up, which was an interesting one with Darius Rucker and how his daughter was named after Dan Marino. That story coming up a little bit later on as well. We'll dive into the decision. Don Van Natta, the investigative reporter for ESPN, he looks back on that decision by LeBron James. Like, who knew what and when did they know it? And I know I was critical of LeBron James from this standpoint. I thought that he owed a phone call to Gilbert, the Cavs owner. What's Gilbert's first name?
Dan, I think.
Dan
right?
Gilbert. Okay. And the more I've thought of that, the more I think that I was wrong in saying that from the standpoint of LeBron didn't like Dan Gilbert, didn't trust him, and wanted to get out of there. And if I'm LeBron, even if I give him a courtesy call to say, hey, just letting you know, I'm going to Miami, Dan Gilbert could have put that out there and, taken all of the steam out of the decision. Could have. I just thought LeBron needed to act bigger than Dan Gilbert because he is bigger than Dan Gilbert and his reputation. But maybe he didn't trust him. But at the time, I thought at least give them a heads up because Cleveland was devastated. They were. And I don't think people realized the acrimony between LeBron and Dan Gilbert not trusting him. But that was the only thing. The fact that he said he was taking his talents to South Beach, I couldn't care less. People did because it's LeBron, but I couldn't care less. I just want to know, is Dwayne Wade telling the truth that he did not know that LeBron was going to Miami? As he's watching, he's reacting the same way we are. He's, what? Yeah, McLovin.
This is not to blame LeBron at all, but I totally understand the pain Cleveland felt. That would stink as a fan.
Yeah.
It's not LeBron's fault at all. Free agency is great for the sport, but, man, that would have hurt.
And then he came back. He did come back, but he came back because he knew he had a team there. I think he would have stayed if he could have if Chris Bosh would have gone to Cleveland. I mean, I'm wondering I'm guessing he would have stayed. LeBron just needed somebody that could be equal to him. He didn't have a Pippen. And even when he got a Pippen didn't want to stay. Kyrie wanted to be a star and have his own team. LeBron needed a couple of B pluses. He had some C pluses, maybe B minuses. Maybe he had a D or two in there. We'll take a break. Play of the day up next here on the Dan Patrick Show.
Heck of a day if you're a Liverpool fan, Dan. I know you are, long time. I've been a fan a little bit longer. I started in 2000. Now, I've been a Liverpool fan since 2001, summer of 2001. And they had a great squad this year, Mo Salah and the crew. Yesterday, on a Thursday in the late afternoon, they won the Premier League without actually even playing a game, which is impressive. The last time they won, here's what the boys, the lads look like. Back in, I think that's 89. Yeah, that's a different squad. It's very weird, though, when a team you really care about, I do care about Liverpool, they win the title in their main sport, the Premier League, which they haven't won in years, by not playing on a Thursday afternoon. I'm sitting on my couch by myself, cup of water, watching Man City versus Chelsea. And because Chelsea won, Liverpool got the title because they're so far ahead. It's quite different than, like, American sporting events. Like when the Cubs won the World Series, they were actually playing in the World Series. I saw them. They beat Cleveland in Game 7. I was sitting on the couch in the same exact position. But it is a weird thing to be a soccer fan and have your team win.
Yeah, I didn't know what I was tuning into when you sent the group text NBCSN, and I tuned in and I'm watching Chelsea, and then I go, wait.
Why am I watching it?
Yeah. And then it was like, well, Liverpool just won. And then I go, but they were going to win anyway.
Right.
Like, there was no surprise there.
Yeah.
I don't know if
it's
a
somewhat
tune-in factor.
anticlimactic. It's a little bit of like, okay. And then they're like, well, let's see if Jurgen Klopp can find a camera and see if we can get his reaction.
Right. Rebecca Lowe is trying to track down some Liverpool players.
You don't get to even see like the team's live reaction to it because
right. Like this is what it should be. Anfield, the whole crew.
But I thought it was going to be like March Madness when St. Mary's goes, yeah! You get the team reaction.
Yeah.
Like, wait a minute.
Can they all be at each other's homes? Can we zoom something up?
It's funny because they're like doing the broadcast and they're like, all right, let's get the reaction. And they show like tweets like, Virgil van Dijk has said, "Yay, we did it," and you're like,
Paul Pat.
"That's
from
all we
his-
have is a
from his-
tweet from a player." Like, this is crazy. Yeah.
Did Chelsea win on purpose, or did Manchester City lose on purpose so Liverpool wouldn't be able to celebrate during an actual match by either tying or winning? I don't know, man.
A Thursday.
Yeah. How about a nice Saturday afternoon at Anfield with the crew? I'm happy, but unsatisfied.
What do you think, Todd? You excited?
I'm very excited about this calendar shoot. This, I believe, will be June 2020. I didn't have time to do a power pump. I'm trying to get a little flex going. I got to come up with a sexy pose. I got my little shorts from my NYU days back in the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, toddler. Get it all soaked up there. You should be all soaked up, too.
Yeah, you gotta start. Yeah, get a little soap on your.
Whoa, over me or what?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Go for
now
it,
go
Todd.
for it, Todd.
Todd, get in there.
Get in there, baby. Oh.
Look at the camera. To me.
A little more soap in there. Here we go. Ready?
Todd, look at me. Kick your left foot up.
Do a, I think posing like that should.
Do I need to be
Yeah, we're gonna get you wet. You know, you spray them down a
not
little
showing
bit.
enough leg?
Is that too hot for you? Here, touch it before I get you. I don't want to.
No, it's fine.
All right, hose them down. Sorry, I'm trying not to get you in the face, man. Just a sexy sip from the host. There's some pretty good action shots.
We didn't do one of those like. I thought we were supposed to do one of those like.
Yeah, I love it.
There you go.
Hot. Toddler gets an award.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
The play of the day.
Runner left side, got it! They're gonna play it and play it.
This is the play of the day. Check this out.
Oh, there could be a chance on here. Pulisic picks up the loose ball and he could be in. Christian Pulisic for Chelsea, 1-0. The US international scores his second goal in 2 games. And it could be a massive goal for Liverpool Football Club as well.
Pulisic. I told you he was going to be great, Paulie.
Called it.
Yep. You didn't want to believe me. Liverpool, the earliest champion in league history in terms of games played, following Chelsea's win over Man City, courtesy of NBC SN. The Reds, my Reds. Play of the day. Play of the day brought to you by Raycon, buyraycon.com/Patrick. It's 15% off these wireless earbuds, the way to go. They fit great. They look great. Buyraycon.com/Patrick. All right. Did we settle on a poll question, McLevin?
We have a new entry from Paulie, and I'm not sure if these are the right choices, but whose career would you want, Vince Carter or Robert Horry, 7-time NBA champion?
Vince Carter, there was a time in your life where you were the biggest thing. Everyone bought your jerseys, you slam dunk champ. No titles, no NBA Finals appearances. But you're going to be remembered. Robert Horry was a solid NBA player. He wasn't even like a starter his whole career.
Big shot Bob.
Known for being clutch, and I think he has 7
Yeah, I
rings.
think 7.
And he's responsible for a couple of them. He's not just along for the ride.
No.
Which would you take?
Vince Carter. Yeah, Vince Carter. I think if you said Tim Duncan instead of Robert Horry, because Tim's got, 5 titles? But Tim Duncan earned those 5 titles. He was, largely responsible for 5 titles. So that would be different. Robert Horry, he was a role player on all those teams and did hit some big shots. But Vince Carter, that's a pretty good career. Yeah, McLevin.
Right. Duncan, I think, is a little too good, though. I'm looking, there's a classic game on. How about Joe Dumars or somebody who's good on a title team?
How about Pippen?
Pippen. Well.
Pippen or Vince Carter? Pippen was never the most famous player on his own team.
I'm not the biggest Pippen fan because of some of the other stuff that goes along with it. I can't argue with 6 rings. I would take Pippen just because it's 6 rings and you won it with the most exciting, publicized, talked about team in history. We like Vince. I don't know if people have a soft spot in their heart for Scottie Pippen. With Vince, we're like, you got to admire that. You love it. He played till he's 43. But Scottie was still, he was a great player. When he decided he didn't want to go back in, and then that there's no coming back from that. And then in the documentary to say, you know what, if I had to do it all over again, I'd probably do the same thing. And I went, no, don't say that. Even if you believe it, don't double down like that. Jesse in Los Angeles. Hi, Jesse. What do you have for me today?
Howdy, Pete.
Yep.
Happy Meat and Positivity Friday to you and the Dan.
Yes. Well, we'll try.
I'm going to keep it there. On Vince Carter, happy retirement. In Sports Talk yesterday, there's been some debate. Is he a Hall of Famer or not? I believe he is. It's because, as you always say, can you tell the story of the sport without the person? And you can't mention the Raptors without talking about Vince Carter. But if he doesn't manage to get in, can they at least put his top 10 dunks in, starting with him jumping over poor old Frederick Weiss? Because
Frederick von Weiss.
As Marvin just told me on the phone, I didn't realize this. That guy got drafted by the Knicks, and he never came. Keep it real, guys. Have a good one.
All right. Thank you, Jesse. I don't know why there's any debate about Vince Carter being a Hall of Famer.
I saw that yesterday. It's the dumbest debate. He's first ballot.
Wait, what is the debate?
I don't know.
I mean,
8-time All-Star.
I mean, he led the All-Star voting 4 times.
Rookie of the Year.
Rookie of the Year. Unless you're looking at the second. If you take from 29 on, what kind of numbers does Vince Carter have?
After the age of 30, he was never an All-Star again for the next 12 seasons.
Okay.
Could you compare his career at all to Ken Griffey Jr., where the first decade is first ballot, no doubt, also compelling, beloved. Everyone wanted to be Ken Griffey. Everyone wanted to be Vince Carter.
Griffey didn't win.
And Griffey, his last 10 years, he was a good MLB player. He was not great. A couple All-Star teams, but he was not Ken Griffey anymore. Like Vince Carter. They adjusted and stuck around. Yeah. And they never stunk, but they cooled off.
Yeah, but Vince became a 3-point specialist. And, Junior didn't change his game. I mean, he just didn't hit as many home runs. He wasn't able to, roam freely like he did, center field. Unless you look at such a great first half of the career and then it cooled down considerably in the second half. Yeah, McLevin.
I'm a Vince guy, but I might say Griffey was greater because Griffey was the singular force.
Oh, yeah. Griffey was the best player in the sport.
And the most popular.
For almost a decade. Vince was never that. Didn't Vince win a title in college?
Did they? I think they lost that title with Jameson. I got to double check
Did they lose that to?
That was the year that John Feinstein wrote the book following the Final Four. I'll double check.
Didn't they play Utah in the Final Four, and then they went to the title game?
Michael Doliak? Is that the era?
I think, with Rick Majerus.
Or Van Horn? We got to check this.
Yeah.
Maybe UConn? No, I don't know.
Yeah,
I think Maryland's in the mix there. I got to double.
Yeah. We'll find out. We got 2 hours to find out. 1 hour in the books. 2 more to go. didn't know that the Hall of Fame announcer Al Michaels was going to come out to witness
Neither
this.
did I.
Certainly didn't.
It adds a certain level of pressure.
I made the wrong turn on Colburn.
Yeah,
Somehow
and here
I
you
wound
are.
up- I
So we
wound up
got
in the parking
Al
lot
here.
Yeah, right.
Josh, former legend at Minot State.
Yeah.
Right.
And McLovin is
Go
your best
Beavers.
friend.
So wait, do you want me to start next to Josh and sprint out there 50 yards like a receiver? You need a moving target, Josh, or
You want to run it? Sure.
Okay, so
What do you think? Or are we just throwing it straight out?
I think he should be at the other end down by the cone.
a good idea.
Okay.
Yeah, I
That's
don't
a
want
good
him
idea.
running. See, there's the
Watch
speed
the
up
hump.
here. Yeah, so you got two,
Although he is quick.
two tries.
That is some
Two
that is
tries.
some natural
That
athletic.
fake Revis out of his shoes.
2 tries to go for 50 yards. All right, so the cone is 50.
Okay.
I got you over 50.
Okay.
All right, so you ready?
Yep.
I'm at the
So,
cone.
from this cone here, right?
Okay. Pocket,
Ready?
pocket
Yeah.
beginning to collapse.
No, I'm taking a
Mel
full
back
run.
to
I'm
throw.
taking a full Happy Gilmore run at this.
Former star, why not? Why not? Here we go. And
That's close. I sort of short armed
incomplete.
What happened?
Second down and 10. Give me another shot here.
I need a relay man. I need a relay man.
The hell is this, baseball?
Wow.
One more try.
All right.
Okay. Here we go.
30
Second
seconds
down and
left.
10.
Here we
Second
go.
and 10.
Clock ticking down.
Okay, 3-man rush. And
Did you see what McLovin did?
wait a minute.
McLovin.
Yes.
McLovin.
Yes.
McLovin. He moved the cone up.
you wanted no part of that.
You might to a rotator, but you're good.
Yeah.
Your arm's gonna be down here today.
You got to do it now, right?
Oh no, I can't.
If Jerry Jones saw him right now, he'd be playing Sunday
He
night.
said throws it better than Brandon Whedon.
Dan, give me one, Dan.
Did you move the cone up for your BFF?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Did you? You did
I don't know what he's talking
You did
about.
not. Here, hit me on one.
I think he.
Hit me on one.
Watch out.
Oh, I thought you were.
Oh, come on.
A little miscommunication there.
They call pass interference, but not catchable. Waved off.
I know you.
McLovin moved the cone up.
All right, we should
Oh,
probably.
he's in love with him.
gotta come back
I've
in.
been watching the show on Slingbox.
Oh yeah. Here we.
Dan, as a high-end Liverpool fan, I'm sure they're gonna send you a kit, invite you to the parade, so forth. But if you go to Liverpool's website, this is the Liverpool team website. Here's one of the shirts they have. They already have like at least 40 different shirts for winning the title. Here's my favorite. Champions.
Wow.
Masters.
They made it though. This is not like a bootleg. This is.
I wonder why.
I think they're poking fun before you poke fun. Like how they didn't have to play the whole season, which some people are going to say.
Okay.
I like it. Make money off it.
Yeah, because now you're getting the people who. Right. So who's buying that shirt? People who don't like Liverpool, or people who do?
I can see both sides.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Now you're cashing in on both.
Well, I don't know if a Man City
No.
gonna go.
There's a great clip of you could see online. Steve Prefontaine, remember the runner from Oregon? They used to wear shirts that said "Go Pre" in the Oregon at Hayward Field. All his fans would wear it, "Go Pre," and they were very popular. He went to a race at like Stanford or something, and all the fans in the stands had shirts that said "Stop Pre," and he smoked them. And then he went and they threw him a shirt, and he did a victory lap wearing the
That's great.
shirt. Can you imagine a college track runner being so famous that those T-shirts made when he comes to town? That was a big deal.
Yeah.
That's an awesome shirt, though. Both of them, Stop Pre and.
I'm sure there's a couple on the way. Actually, I'm not.
Mo Salah.
Yeah.
Be nice. I don't know who I like better saying their name, Mo Salah or Harry Kane.
That's the one you like.
Harry Kane's the best.
Harold Kane.
He's got good hair, man.
Oh, Harold Kane has great. Buckle up, boys. Time to go to work. Conspiracy theory.
I think the Lakers are not practicing at that billionaire's house. I think they found out that a couple players tested positive, and they're all quarantining together, drinking off the same cup, eating off the same plates, and using one bathroom. Get everyone immune.
Is it more of an advantage if your players are testing positive now? I mean, you're not hoping for it, but there's a benefit to this. If your starting five is already tested through this, got the antibodies or whatever it might be.
Of the king!
I am immortal. It's an advantage.
Man, you're like a genius, man.
Welcome to the Dan Patrick Show.
Gum is permitted.
Hosted by Dan Patrick and joined by the 4 Danettes.
But you can't spit it out.
Oh, come on. Come on.
Broadcasting from the Mercedes Man Cave, this is Dan Patrick.
Hour 2 on this Meat Friday. Dan and the Danettes, Dan Patrick Show. Not sure what we learned from the first hour. Talked a lot about Vince Carter. Talked about TikTok videos. Todd, of course, leading the charge. TikTok videos. He's now being called Tick Todd. Tick Todd is what Chat Row is labeling you.
All right.
Yeah. So you and my youngest daughter, you have the same kind of entertainment expectations with TikTok. About 15 seconds, and then that's it.
That's it.
Yeah, that's all you need. A good cat video, and you are set for the rest of the day. All right, 877-3DP Show. Email address, dp@danpatrick.com. Twitter handle at DP Show. Let me see. Poll question, McLovin. What do we have?
Hard hitting as usual. Whose career would you rather have, Vince Carter or Scottie Pippen? The early leader is Scottie at 65%.
I would take Scottie Pippen. You can't argue with the titles. Different players, though. But Vince went to 2 Final Fours at North Carolina. And you go into the Basketball Hall of Fame. It's not the NBA Hall of Fame. It's the Basketball Hall of Fame. I don't know why this was, any kind of deal yesterday. I don't know if it's a big deal, but some talk shows were talking about, is Vince Carter a Hall of Famer? I'm like, he's in the top 20 in NBA history in games played, minutes played, 3-point field goals made, and total points. Yes, Paulie.
I'm changing the poll question.
Okay.
Whose career would you rather have, Vince Carter or Allen Iverson? Neither have a title. At one point, they were the biggest thing in the sport, maybe all sports.
Iverson went to a final.
Yep. This is a tough one.
Man, Iverson culturally changed the NBA.
He didn't do a whole lot with Georgetown. Vince Carter did a whole lot, pretty close with UNC.
Oh, Iverson was only there 1 year at Georgetown?
I think 2.
2 years? Oh, man. I'm going to say Iverson. I think he was as much a one-man show as anybody we've seen in the NBA. And to do it at that size, he led the league in scoring 4 times. And he's 6 feet tall at best. I'd say Iverson. Yeah, McLovin.
So in Philly, there's a big, local radio station had a big poll, greatest Philadelphia sports athlete of all time. And Iverson beat out Mike Schmidt, and it's causing like a huge rebellion. That's a little over. So you're right. You hit on something. Iverson's popularity is unquestioned.
With a whole generation and a whole generation of players, the generation that came after Iverson, because he had cornrows, he had tats, he had sleeves, he had swag. I mean, he was different. He was different, man. He had to great practice. It's like, a Jim Mora, when he did playoffs, Iverson did practice. It was kind of the same feeling there. Playoffs? Practice? I would say Iverson. All right. Phone calls are welcome. 877-3DP show. Email address dp@danpatrick.com. Spent a little bit of time talking about the decision. And so we're coming up on the anniversary of the decision. Is that right, Ton?
July 8th would be exactly 10 years.
Okay. And Don Van Natta of the Mothership, they're doing a 30 for 30, and it's based off of what happened behind the scenes of LeBron's decision. We know where he went. I want to know who knew where he was going before that announcement there. And all I know is people at the Mothership, some of my former bosses are on record talking about this. LeBron didn't cooperate with the 30 for 30. Jim Gray is not in the 30 for 30, but we'll talk to Don Van Natta about the decision. And I looked at it differently. I look at it differently now, and that is that LeBron, how many athletes are able to say, I want my own show to make my decision? This wasn't one of those quick announcements where you put on a cap, and I'm taking my talents to. He had the power. And I'm trying to think of an athlete who has had that much power to be able to say to a network, they wanted it on ABC. He's like, I don't want to be on ESPN. I want this on ABC. And the amazing part is LeBron was 25 years of age when he did that. He didn't have a title. He had, pretty good resume up to that point, but he's 25 years of age and he says to ESPN, I want to make my decision. I want it to be a TV show. And then he did it again with Sports Illustrated, if you'll remember, when he was, going back to Cleveland. So the summer of 2014, Sports Illustrated had the exclusive that he was going to go back to Cleveland. Yes, Tom?
And I think from what I read, ESPN wanted Bob Lee or Stuart Scott. They wanted one of those guys to be the role of Jim Gray. But LeBron's team, I guess, had some relationship with him, and they, I guess, insisted Jim be the one doing the interview.
Yeah, I think Jim was friends with Maverick Carter. And you know what? In fairness to Jim, he might have come up with the idea. He might have. Because we had Jim on after that. Can we check our notes on that?
Yeah.
Because I want to give Jim credit. He's certainly been criticized because of this. I don't think it was Jim's idea to stretch this out as long as possible. I mean, I had a problem that, okay, now I got to wait. And then I got to wait. And then here's another feature. And here's another feature. I know that you don't want to start a TV show and go, and I'm taking my talents to South Beach, and then it's over. But I was hoping that would have been a half-hour show. Yes, Todd?
Yeah, from what I'm looking at, it says it was the idea of Jim Gray, who approached LeBron's agent, Maverick Carter, during the NBA Finals with the idea.
Okay. Yeah, I remember talking to Jim about that, and that they loved the idea, and that's why Jim was hosting it. But I do think that some of my former bosses at the Mothership had a problem that it took that long to get to LeBron's decision. And I'm thinking, well, what else were you going to fill the hour with if you didn't drag this out a little bit? It just became to the point where you're going, okay, where are you going? Like, you're excited because we didn't know. Oh, he's doing this in Greenwich, Connecticut. He's going to the Knicks. And we're not, no, not going to the Knicks. They're not going to win anything there. And so Don Van Natta is doing the 30 for 30, and we'll talk to him about did Dwayne Wade not know that LeBron was going to Miami? Because there is no way in the world I'll believe that. That's your buddy. Like, they're friends. I don't think you show it up at somebody's house and say, I'm going to stay for 3 years. Hey, I'm really good friends. Hey, I'm just going to knock on Paulie's door on Saturday, and I'm going to say, hey, I'm moving in for 3 years.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. I'm taking my talents to Fairfield.
We'd love to have you.
Yeah, I know you would. Jay in Arizona. Hi, Jay. What do you have for me today?
Hey, gentlemen. 5'11", 165, first-time caller. Appreciate you taking me. I just wanted to call in and make an argument for Vince Carter being inducted into the Hall of Fame. I heard you guys talking about how Allen Iverson made a cultural impact on the NBA, and I also felt like Vince Carter did too. I was debating this in my head last night, and I don't feel like I ever saw anybody dunk the basketball like Vince Carter did. I feel like he changed the excitement level of the NBA in that regard.
Well, there have been a lot of great dunkers, and you're probably not old enough, Jay, to remember Dominique Wilkins. Sean Kemp was a great dunker. You had a lot of great dunkers. Vince jumped over a 7-footer, Frederick Weiss. And I think whenever you watched Vince, you always thought he could have done more because he had all this talent. Iverson was usually the smallest guy on the floor. But Vince was spectacular. He's been a great ambassador for the game. He went to 2 Final Fours when he was at North Carolina. If you want to say the negative, he didn't win, but he made himself into one of the better three-point shooters in history. So arguably the greatest leaper in NBA history was also one of the great three-point shooters of all time. And this might be one of those where you just accumulate stats. But there's part of that is, being able to play for that amount of time. He played till he's 43. And he played, it's not like he embarrassed himself. So I have no problem with Vince Carter going in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, Paul.
I always get a little defensive about Dominique Wilkins. People don't give him his due. I know he was a scorer and a dunker, and he's more known for his dunking, but he averaged 30 at age 26, then he averaged 30 at age 33.
Yeah.
He had a longer window of greatness than Vince Carter did and a lot of other guys did. He led the league in scoring a couple times, averaged 30 3 times, 4 times.
He was a violent dunker. Yeah. Violent. But, that he couldn't get past the Celtics. Yeah, McLovin.
I got in a big debate yesterday. Is Vince Carter dunking over Frederick Weiss the best dunk of all time? And I said it was Dr. J cradling on Michael Cooper. And then other people brought up Jordan going baseline on Ewing. And there were a few that were out there on social media yesterday. That was all over the place. It's hard to remember every dunk, but.
Tom Chambers dunking on Mark Jackson is pretty good.
That's mean. Why are you doing that to your buddy?
Mark's not up this early. I can do it. I'll hear about it later. Hear you talking about me. No, not really. Just your chest where Tom Chambers put his foot on your chest. Yeah, Paulie.
I think my 2 favorites, and even though I'm a Bulls fan, I thought John Stark's baseline dunk
against
most of the Bulls team, left-handed, in the playoffs for the Knicks. That place went insane.
That was spicy.
And he's 6'3" tops.
That's spicy.
And there's Jordan's there, and Pippen's there, and Horace is there. There was also one, and I don't remember the year and the name, Kevin Johnson of the Suns. He dunked over, I think he dunked over Olajuwon once. He also dunked over Mark Eaton once. And Kevin Johnson's, again, not even 6'4".
Oh, KJ's probably 6'1".
Underrated dunker.
Yeah. Greatest dunk of all time. Yes, Eaton.
The John Starks dunk. I'm not going not to be a.
but you are.
I am going to be.
Are you poo-pooing?
Well, I'm not poo-pooing, but it's slightly overrated.
As playoff dunk, right?
It is a playoff dunk. It does put them up by 5. It is against the Bulls, but he had like a wide open free lane to the hoop and got there. There was actually somehow he dunked over the entire team while no one was playing defense on him. By the time he got to the rim, I get there's a lot of hands there, but everything leading up to it, there was nothing.
I see what Seaton's saying because he's not over anybody.
He's alone in the corner.
He's amongst.
Yeah, and then he goes in.
And everybody, the defense sort of comes crashing from the other side, but they're too late.
Okay. All right. Yes, McLovin.
But is this the same game where he got cold? The 2 for 18?
No.
It's a totally
That's
different
NBA
game.
Finals.
So in my mind, I always get the 2. I'm like, that dunk was great, but then he's a guy who went 2 for 18.
That
in the
was
fourth
against
quarter.
Houston.
That hurt.
Oh, and he kept shooting. And I know, as a shooter, you're told to keep shooting. There's a time when you go, I got to stop shooting. I think I've shot enough here. Royal in Iowa. Hey, Royal, what do you have for me today?
Hey, Dan, long-time listener, first-time caller. You guys were talking about a comparison between Iverson and Vince. And great comparison. I agree with you on Iverson on that. I really didn't even have to second-guess it. But I think the better comparison is Iverson and Tiny Archibald, which I know you'll remember Tiny because we're about the same age.
Yeah.
And I'll take Tiny. I think he was for his stretch there. He was as dangerous as anybody, and pretty close size to Allen Iverson. I know Tiny didn't get any titles either, neither did Iverson, but I'm going with Tiny. I'll hang up and listen,
All
Dan.
righty.
Thanks.
Thank you, Royal. Nate Archibald, one of the more underrated players in NBA history. And I got to see him. I probably saw 7 to 10 games each year. So 2 years I saw Nate Archibald play. And you couldn't shut him down. He didn't back down from anybody. He went left every single time. He might have been 5'11", because I stood next to him, because we waited till they came out of the locker room to get autographs back then. And you saw him and you went, how is that guy doing it? And he was spectacular. And you go back to, he led the league in scoring and assists in the same season for a team that I think might have been a last place team. But he was a wonderful talent. But he played for the Royals. He eventually got to the Celtics, but he was nowhere near. It's like Maravich got to the Celtics as well. They were nowhere near what they once were. When Dr. J got to the Sixers, Dr. J was still a force to be reckoned with. But, with Maravich and Tiny, they were not great players when they ended up with Boston Celtics. So I would take Iverson, because Iverson did it on a big stage, and there were a lot of other things that went along with that, with Iverson. Because the NBA instituted the dress code because Iverson and Steve Nash. Remember, Iverson would wear like a hockey jersey, and Nash would wear T-shirts and jeans. And I remember talking to Nash about that. I said, Iverson gets all the blame. He goes, I know, thank God. Because Nash would show up as if he was, going to a rager. Like he flip-flops and, he didn't care. And the NBA instituted the dress code, and people thought, hey, the commissioner's singling out Allen Iverson here. And in reality, and even the commissioner told me, Commissioner Stern said, Steve Nash is the one that he made him think about how we're going to dress, how we want our players to show up at a press conference. And I remember saying at the time, why not show up and be able to show off like designers and wear a suit? Does Nike come up with their own suits? Or Adidas get sponsors? And then years later, these guys show up as if they're going to Milan. They're going to walk the catwalk. Look at Russell Westbrook Jr. III. He gives more time, more thought to what he's going to wear than improving his jumper. What? What did you just say? Yes, McLevin.
Did you see yesterday they announced a change that you don't have to wear a suit on the sideline at the bubble? It was a big deal. You can wear an NBA polo instead. I guess there's a rule you have to wear a jacket on the bench. I didn't know that at all.
Coaches do?
Players. If you're injured, you have to wear a jacket.
What?
Yeah, I'm reading Shams. They loosened the dress code. So among the changes are players not being required to wear a sport coat on the bench, players being able to wear polo shirts for official business, and coaches wearing NBA polo shirts.
Okay.
So, and Shams is saying it's like going to be summer league look.
Yeah, I was just going to say that's what it feels like. Yeah, Todd.
But they do want them all to wear Mickey Mouse ears, which I think is a little ridiculous.
Oh, okay. I see what you're doing.
Don't make them wear.
Let me take a break here. We'll get to more phone calls. The decision. Don Van Natta of the Mothership will join us. What are some of the questions that were left unanswered? I'm looking at this quote. I'll save it. It has to do with Dwayne Wade not knowing about what LeBron was going to do with the decision. And the fact that, why was it held in Greenwich, Connecticut? 20 after the hour. And who knew they had a Boys and Girls Club of Greenwich, Connecticut? That must be a really nice Boys and Girls Club.
Next to a Vineyard Vines. Right next door.
We'll take a break. Let's see. 20 after the hour. This is the Dan Patrick Show. You check things all the time, email, Instagram, check something important for a change. Discover makes it quick and easy. Best of all, it's free. Check your credit. Discover is now offering FICO credit scores, score used by 90% of top lenders, and doing so for free even if you're not a customer. Checking your score won't hurt your credit, and you can check each month for changes. It's called the Discover Credit Scorecard. It's free for everyone, and you can learn more at discover.com/credit scorecard. Discover.com/credit scorecard. Limitations apply.
I'm still looking for you from that last interview we did after we won the championship, and we still got a bet going on about you challenging. Remember, you challenged Ben Wallace in a free throw contest.
Yeah.
So
Oh, my God.
I still got Ben ready for you. So
Oh.
anytime you're ready, we can
Rip.
find a gym wherever you're at.
Rip.
So we can still have that bet.
Do you realize that Ben Wallace retired so he wouldn't face me in shooting free throws?
Hey, listen, he ain't got to run around no more. He ain't got to block shots. That's all he do now to shoot free throws.
Rip, what do you
Less
want to
impact on the body.
What do you want to What do you want to put on that? Okay, we'll shoot 15 free throws, me against Ben Wallace.
Yes, got a $10,000 bet.
10,000. All right.
Yes.
All right.
We're gonna set it up. We're gonna bring the camera crew and everything.
I'm going to ask my guys, Dan, that's who you got money on, me or Ben Wallace?
I'll put 1,000 on you, Dan.
Thank you. Anybody else want a piece of it?
I got you all day and all night, Dan.
I was going to put 3,000 on Wallace.
Nice.
Yes, Paulie.
Based off at least 500 career games played, the worst free throw shooter in NBA history is Ben Wallace at 41%.
Man, I'd hate to take.
That's why it's going to be an easy bet.
I hate to
for
take
me.
10 grand out of your pocket. You probably got kids to put in college, Rip. I mean,
I do. So hopefully that can get them in because, by the time my kids get to college, tuition is going to be about $250,000 a year.
This is what. Why don't you just put up your championship ring with the Pistons? All right.
Hey, that would be cool too, but I don't think I can allow that to happen if you win and knowing that you have my ring, wearing it around saying that this is what I got off Rip Hamilton. I don't know. You got to put something up big for that one.
Oh, let's see. What can I put up here?
What you got?
I got all these sports Emmys that I'm not using. I'd be happy to give those to you. I mean, they're cluttered
They
all
might
over
be
the
cute.
place.
That might be cute. I can put them up in my office and say that I won them. That might be cute.
Nobody's going to know the difference. You can take off the plaque there and just put on Rip Hamilton Sportscaster of the Year.
I like that. That might have to be a bet.
I like cash instead of check. Cashier's check.
Cash is king.
Yeah, cash is king. And if you want to, good luck trying to find Ben Wallace. I guarantee you he's not practicing his free throws right now.
Hey, listen, Dan, after I win, you know what I'm doing? After you pay me the money,
okay,
I'm going to actually send you and the crew there a whole bunch of Oculus Go headsets. So then you can pay more attention to what I'm talking about on my telecast. So you'll know, you'll really know what I'm talking about when I say Ben Wallace can beat you in the free throw contest.
I will wear the virtual reality goggles while I shoot free throws. Just letting you know, Rip. I'm bringing.
Okay, all right. Remember, we still got a bet.
I'm bringing heat. Hey, I want to apologize up front to your family for taking 10 grand from you, but it's great to talk to you, Rip.
All right, it's always great talking to you,
Thank you,
Dan.
bud. That's Rip Hamilton. He won a title at UConn, won a title with the Pistons. He played about 14 years, I think. Yeah, Paulie.
Is Rip Hamilton crazy? He's putting the worst shooter to ever walk on an NBA court up against you. I know you didn't play in the NBA, but you don't need to shoot free throws.
Well,
let's say Ben Wallace goes 6 of 10 against you.
Yeah.
Which would be very good for him.
Yeah.
You're getting 7.
Yeah.
I mean, easy.
Yeah. And we're going to go into my dojo. He's got to come up to the man cave. And he already knows, he may not know those rims are tight. The lighting, he's going to have to get acclimated to it. But, Ben Wallace is the worst free throw shooter in NBA history. He shot 41%. That'd be 4 out of 10, McLovin. That's how that works.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he made 4 out of 10. All right, I'm not afraid. You're going to love our Discover Moment of the Week. I'll have that for you in about 20 minutes from now. More phone calls coming up. I got everybody giving their opinions on the best dunk of all time. We brought up Frederick Weiss with his dunk, Vince Carter dunking over Frederick Weiss. That was in the Olympics, so I think it got even more coverage because of that worldwide. But, man, look, you can go down the list in NBA history of great dunks of all time. Daryl Dawkins brought down the backboard with the dunk. I don't know if that's on the list for people. Don Van Natta, the ESPN investigative reporter, host of Backstory, and he is looking at the backstory of the decision. Airs Sunday night at 9 Eastern on ESPN, and Don joins us now. Don, thanks for joining us. Let me ask you what was more overcovered, Deflategate or the decision? Because you were involved in Deflategate as well.
That's a hard question to start with, Dan. I think they're probably on an equal footing. They certainly enraged different parts of the country in equal measure, right? New England was furious about my coverage of Deflategate and the decision. People in Cleveland will never forget it, despite LeBron coming back and winning a championship. But a good question. Both upset fan bases more than anything.
Do you know everything about Deflategate that you want to know?
Oh, no, there's always questions. As an investigative reporter, Dan, there's always new questions. There's always new information you can find out. I mean, we drew a through line, as you may remember, to Spygate. So much of what happened with Tom Brady in that 4-game suspension traces back to Spygate and the fact that Roger Goodell slapped the Patriots on the wrist in that scandal. And owners wanted this time with Deflategate for there to be an oversized punishment. And that's really what that was all about.
So if we didn't have Spygate, Tom Brady doesn't get suspended 4 games?
I don't think so. No, I don't. I mean, come on. It was such a silly scandal, those deflated footballs. But there were owners around, the most powerful owners in particular, like Jerry Jones, that really wanted the Patriots to pay. And Roger Goodell listens to the people like Rooney, Goodell, Hunt. Those guys really wanted the Patriots to pay for Deflategate and Tom Brady, and that's what happened.
If I gave you one question with a truthful answer coming from Tom Brady, what would you ask?
What would I ask Tom Brady? I would ask Tom Brady, how many games does he think he won based on Spygate? The Spygate scandal was far greater than we ever knew. Remember, Jeff Pash, the general counsel of the NFL, was provided by the Patriots only 3 or 4 Spygate tapes. That's all the Patriots said there was. And when he was given them in Foxborough, Jeff Pash crunched them under his wingtips and got rid of the evidence. In our story that I did back with Seth Wickersham that you're referring to, there was at least 40 games that the Patriots used spying techniques. So I would ask Tom Brady, how many games did you win? Did you win a Super Bowl based on information given to you through spying on opposing teams' signals?
I remember the last time the commissioner was on this show. That might have been how many years ago, Pauline? Like 7?
7 or 8.
7 or 8. And I said, why would you destroy tapes? He goes, well, there's no reason for them. And I'm thinking, okay. Like, it was such a strange answer that he was like, of course we destroy it. I don't know. Don't they have a storage bin where they keep all the things that, or NFL Films would want something like this?
Absolutely. And remember, the NFL took the word of the Patriots that this was the only evidence of this scandal. There was really no real investigation that was ever conducted of Spygate. It was wrapped up within a week. They just wanted it to go away. And this was only the first year of Roger Goodell's commissionership, and Bob Kraft, the owner of the Patriots, helped Goodell get his job. The whole thing stunk.
All right. The reason why we're having you on is backstory of the decision that airs this Sunday night at 9 Eastern. I'm looking at a quote here with Dwayne Wade. Dwayne Wade telling Rachel Nichols of ESPN, LeBron kind of went into his cave, went radio silent, kind of had to deal with his own process, but we were a little nervous on the other side, like, wait, are we still in this? Did Dwayne Wade know that LeBron was coming to Miami?
Sounds like a cover story, doesn't it, what Dwayne told Rachel Nichols? These guys had talked about playing together way back in 2006 when Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, and LeBron James were teammates on the World Championships team, and again in 2008 when they were teammates on the Olympics team. They could have signed 5-year max deals. Instead, all three of them signed 3-year rookie extensions, which made them eligible for free agency in 2010. We looked into it, Dan. I can't prove unequivocally that that night when Dwayne Wade was tuning in, he really didn't know what LeBron was going to do. But the day before the decision, remember, Chris Bosh said, I'm going to play for the Miami Heat with Dwayne Wade. And a lot of insiders were like, all right, that's all the proof we need that tomorrow night on the decision, LeBron James is going to say, I'm going to Miami.
All right, what's the one thing that'll stand out more than anything else that you found out, the backstory of the decision?
Well, you know, there's a lot of new information on our show, Dan, but one of the things that I so love about what we found out is the origin story. You know, Jim Gray was the host, as you may remember, the veteran broadcaster. He had said it was his idea, that he raised it with Ari Emanuel, the Hollywood agent, and Maverick Carter in June of 2010 during the NBA Finals, Game 2 at halftime in LA. It turns out, actually, the idea was from a guy named Drew in Columbus, Ohio, in November 2009. He wrote a letter to Bill Simmons's mailbag column at ESPN.com and said, what if LeBron would announce his decision, his free agency decision, live on ABC? Bill Simmons responded in that column and said, great idea. LeBron should put it on pay-per-view. And then Bill Simmons took the idea, pitched it in February at the All-Star Weekend in Dallas to Maverick Carter, LeBron's business partner, Leon Rose, LeBron's agent, Worldwide West, LeBron's advisor at the time. Simmons also pitched it to ESPN executives. And for months, Simmons was trying to basically get this show done. And then sort of in a moment of serendipity, I guess, Maverick Carter, Ari Emanuel, and Jim Gray are at the All-Star game, or at the NBA Finals, I should say, and come up with this idea. So what really happened there and whose idea it was is really fascinating. But the other part of it, Dan, is just a revolution was going on that night. We saw a bad hour of TV, an awkward hour of TV. This was LeBron and Maverick Carter becoming producers, taking control of their own storytelling in a remarkable way, really, because you look at it now, 10 years later, the through line that you draw, and uninterrupted Spring Hill Entertainment just this week, just yesterday, Bloomberg reported $100 million is being raised for storytelling by Black artists through LeBron and Maverick's media company. And this was them. Look, it was probably a good idea, really badly executed. They made a lot of mistakes that night. It was some bad TV, but they were spreading their wings and trying this out. And now, arguably LeBron is the most influential and outspoken athlete in the country. And what he's doing with his storytelling through these various shows that he does and as an executive producer is really remarkable.
Who decided how long they were going to wait before LeBron made the decision?
Well, LeBron and Maverick Carter were the producers of the show, though I interviewed John Skipper, the former president of ESPN, who greenlit the show, and Vince Doria, the head of the news division of ESPN. They say the only way to hold an audience is to, kill some time. It's a 1-hour show. It wasn't until 9:28 Eastern that Jim Gray finally got around to asking, what's your decision? That's after 23 questions, by the way, Dan, including, are you a nail biter? And did you bring the powder? So there was a lot of time killing going on. I think ESPN partly had some motive there, but a lot of this was Maverick Carter and Jim Gray. They were really in control. The cameras got turned on. They belonged to ESPN, and the satellite uplink belonged to ESPN. But it was really Maverick Carter and Jim Gray calling the shots that night.
But did you talk to John Skipper and Vince Doria about their role because Jim Gray wasn't working for ESPN, so this is right. ESPN executives. Did they have any control over when Jim Gray was going to ask LeBron what's his decision?
Well, it's interesting. They had some, they say. They certainly understood what was going on. But no, really, they say this was a Maverick Carter production. Remember, ESPN was basically donated that hour, gave Maverick Carter and LeBron James that hour for free. So an hour of free television on ESPN was traded for an exclusive. And so, an old school journalist like me at the time, I was at the New York Times, I thought there's something wrong there. I don't like the way this looks. And but both Doria and Skipper, if you watch the show on Sunday night, they sort of justify it. They understand it from a TV perspective, why LeBron and Maverick and Jim Gray did what they did.
How do they keep it quiet? Like, how many people knew that where LeBron was going?
Well, very few knew about it, and that was another interesting thing, right? You had these ESPN insiders like Chris Broussard tasked with trying to find out where LeBron was going, and if they did find out, they'd scoop their own network. And I asked Skipper about that and Dory about that as well. A very small circle of people knew. LeBron said that night in the chair that he didn't make the decision until that morning after he spoke with his mother. And he said that the number of people that knew the decision as he sat in the chair was, you could count it on one hand. Now, again, whether D. Wade and Chris Bosh and others, Pat Riley, the people in Miami knew more than that, they probably did, I would guess. And we delve into that a little bit. But how they kept it secret, it is pretty remarkable when you consider in this day and age how nothing that is ever known by anybody stays a secret for very long.
Did Jim Gray know?
I don't think Jim Gray knew. I really don't. There was very little preparation. One of the things we found out is LeBron was at his basketball camp that week in Akron. He didn't arrive in Greenwich until about 6 o'clock that night, just a few hours before the decision broadcast. People around LeBron told me he had no idea there were going to be so many questions. I mean, you see him in the chair. It's so awkward, but he also looks so uncomfortable, almost as if in the moment he's thinking, this is a bad idea. The other thing, Dan, we found out is that Leon Rose, LeBron's agent at the time, and Worldwide West both warned people around LeBron in his inner circle that this had the potential to backfire. They knew that he was not going to stay in Cleveland, and they knew if you announce, I'm leaving my hometown on national television with 10 million people watching, there was a lot of potential for an enormous backlash and undercutting your brand.
Why Greenwich, Connecticut for the announcement?
Okay, that's a very good question that I am almost certain this is the right answer. Keith Clinkscales, an executive at ESPN at the time and the liaison between the LeBron camp and the network, I believe picked Greenwich for its proximity to Bristol. Of course, I'm a long-suffering Knicks fan, so when I heard Greenwich, Connecticut, like a lot of Knicks fans, I thought, okay, it was like the mother of all head fakes, right? I mean, he's coming to New York, yes. But I think it really was that. But, the whole look of it, I heard you guys talking about it before the break. I mean, Greenwich, Connecticut, the criticism was even to the kids in the background. Critics said they were used as props. The Greenwich, Connecticut Boys and Girls Club, looks like a country club compared to a lot of the boys and girls clubs around the country. So even the backdrop just didn't work. Nothing worked that night.
What's the next story you want to dive into?
So we have already begun. We've done a lot of interviews, and we're really excited about our next backstory. It's the Manti Te'o catfishing scandal, and we're delving into that. We hope to have that done later this year. There's a lot of unanswered questions there. How much did Manti Te'o know? What did he know, and when did he know it, I guess, is what I'm trying to find out. I think viewers are going to be really surprised, and we'll enjoy that.
Did he cooperate?
No, he hasn't yet. Still trying. But he knows we're on the hunt.
Did you interview his girlfriend?
You mean his fake dead girlfriend?
Yes.
No.
That'd be a great get. The fake dead girlfriend.
Sure. We're trying. We're speaking to her people, Dan. We're trying.
You're an investigative reporter. I love
That's
it.
That's
right. Don, thank you. We'll look forward to that on Sunday night.
Thank you, Dan. Great to be with you.
Don Van Natta, ESPN investigative reporter and host of Backstory that comes out this Sunday night at 9 Eastern, The Decision. We'll take a break. Phone calls coming up. And the Discover Moment of the Week, which was really funny with Darius Rucker. That's right after this. Because you watched the show and you kept saying, hey, tell those guys to stop shooting.
No,
You're the only one who
that's
gets
not
to
what
shoot.
I said. What I said was only Dan shoots on TV.
But that's basically what
That
you're
is.
saying. I mean, I got all these text messages. I saved them. And you ripped these guys. And
No, didn't rip them. I just said only Dan should shoot on TV. Take that however you want, but that was a compliment to you.
I took it. I know that. I'm a good shooter. I just felt bad for look at these guys. They have nothing going on in their lives. And then you are ripping them. And I thought, why are you acting like Bob Knight all of a sudden here?
Well, I did act like Bob Knight one time in the locker room. I was doing an imitation of him when I was a player, and he walked in.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So he was behind me. And
Let me see your Bob Knight.
You can't do Bob Knight unless you can swear. Now, I'm being totally honest. So I ended the whole thing by pointing at my chair, and Dockage, and he was rolling in the background.
Oh, he was.
And I had my eye open, like I was looking, and Alfred's like, "You're good, you're good," and I'm like, So, but you can't do Bob Knight unless you're swearing. It's just no good.
So Bob didn't say anything to you?
He laughed like crazy, and he laughed so hard, and then he said, "Let's go." It was before practice, and he said, "Let's go." Because what Coach Knight used to do was he was like literally, if we had a meeting at 6, he would show up at 8. And you would all be sitting there, just like dummies. Literally, you'd be sitting there like we had a kid, Chuck Franz, who kept a blog. We had these notebooks, and he would keep how late Coach Knight was for meetings. And it was over a day we sat in there. True story.
Okay, so what's the message that he's sending to you?
He's hunting. He would be hunting, and he would come in, and he would be like he just got back from Beirut or somewhere. And he would literally, you would come in and say, he would be in hunting gear, and he'd be like, all right, we'll see you guys tomorrow.
And that'd be it?
And we're like, what the hell? We're okay.
But that first practice where you start to hear that language, and Bob is you knew what you were getting into when you went there, right?
Like the idea that kids get bothered by it is so disrespectful to kids. Like I didn't come to Indiana and all of a sudden a guy's swearing at me and I'm going to be upset by it, or Aaron Henry isn't going. I get
but you can't do it now.
You can, you just can't do it on TV.
Well, yeah, Tom Izzo.
But yeah, coaches are a little bit, I think a lot of it actually, certain coaches are you are beholden to your team. I'll tell you this, my first practice, I'll never forget, it was the year after Isaiah won national championship. So it's 81, but it's in the fall, right? And you didn't have workouts like you do now. You just simply started practice October 15th. We had some running stuff. And I swear to God, my first practice, the first drill, I'm in a stance and I think I'm doing good. Stop.
Oh,
Did you ever play defense in your? Oh, okay, I'm good. I weigh 110 pounds. Literally, I'm in practice and I look at Mike Fox, our manager. I go, Mike, I'm gonna die. How much more? He looks at his watch. You couldn't look at your watch in practice with Coach Knight. And he kind of looked. He goes, we've been going 45 minutes. You got 2 hours and 15 left. And I'm not kidding. I literally was going to die. It was so hard. Tom.
Did he ever make you cry?
No. He hit me in the face with a ball twice here in Minnesota. It's in season on the brink. He got in. He wanted to play. And I was a freshman. And we're playing zone. We're playing Minnesota zone. And he gets in. He's going to show Ted Kitchell and Randy Whitman how to pass against him. I strip it from him. He's on top, I'm in the zone, and I steal it. So he gets in, I can tell he's mad, and he goes to make a pass, and I reach out and I steal it. True story. Now, this is going to sound bad, all right? He takes a dribble, and I'm in a stance, and my face is exposed, takes a dribble, and throws the ball, hits me right in the face.
That's what happened to your face. Whoa.
The mystery solved. And then, so I give him the ball, and now I'm really in a stance. And he does it again, drills me right. And since season on the break, drills me right in the face. And now I turn, and I'm like, mother, And he spins me around by my shoulder, and I got my fist clenched because I'm on. That was it. I had enough, and I saw him back up, and then he's like, "All right, we're going on to something else." Well, after practice, he calls me onto the court over here at Williams Arena, and he says, "Were you going to punch me?" I said, I'm a freshman. I said, Coach, I was going to knock your ass out. I said, I'm sorry, but you just hit me in the face twice with a basketball. And then all of a sudden I'm spun around. And it's kind of funny. This is how sick I am. I was really kind of happy about it because I didn't play the game before, and I knew he was going to feel so bad that I was going to get in the game. I got in for a few minutes. That's a sickness that played at Indiana in the 80s, brother.
But do you think that he was testing your toughness?
No, I think he literally got mad
Okay.
because here's a freshman stealing the ball from me.
Okay.
And I wasn't supposed. I guess later, Randy Whitman and Ted Kitchell told me whenever he gets into practice, you just let him make passes.
Yes.
Like and you whip one over your shoulder, lazy. I didn't know that.
Time for the Discover Moment of the Week. Go back to Tuesday's show. Popular singer Darius Rucker telling us why his wife was okay with naming their daughter after Dan Marino.
This daughter, she was okay with it because my daughter was conceived at Dan Marino, at Don Shula's, I think, retirement, or at Dan's retirement, and in our hotel room there was a life-size picture of Dan over our bed. So she thinks Dan's the reason that Danny came.
You got in the mood because you were looking at, oh, look at number 13. It's so hot. That's one of the creepiest things you've ever told me. That's our Discover Card Moment of the Week. Get your free credit scorecard today, even if you're not a customer. It includes your FICO credit score. Checking your scorecard won't hurt your credit. Learn more at discover.com/credit scorecard. Limitations do apply. Don Van Natta of the Mothership was talking about the next backstory they're going to dive into, the Manti Te'o story. That story was so big at the time. I mean, out of nowhere, and I remember seeing, and this is back in January of 2013. So this is a guy who's up for the Heisman. I think he finished top 3 in Heisman voting that year. He's bringing Notre Dame back. Good-looking guy out of Hawaii, wearing number 5. And I remember seeing Deadspin, Manti Te'o's dead girlfriend, the most heartbreaking and inspirational story of the college football season, is a hoax. And you're going, wait a minute, what happened here? I mean, he played the season. I think he lost his grandmother. That really happened. But he's this Mormon linebacker. He's at a Catholic school, Notre Dame, and he learned that his grandmother had died, and then his girlfriend, a couple of days later, died. Lene Kukua, 22 years of age. She was in a serious car accident in California and then diagnosed with leukemia. Sports Illustrated's Pete Thamel described how Te'o would put her phone in the hospital room, and he would stay on the line with her as he slept. So there was a phone in her room in the hospital bed, and he would just listen throughout the night. Her relatives told him that at her lowest points, she fought to emerge from a coma. Her breathing rate would increase at the sound of his voice. When did Manti Te'o, College Game Day, Manti Te'o was on College Game Day to talk about the letters she had written him during her illness. He would send a heartfelt letter to the parents of a sick child discussing his experience with the disease and the grief. The South Bend Tribune wrote an article describing the young couple's fairy tale meeting. She, a Stanford student, he, a Notre Dame star, and they met. This is after a football game outside Palo Alto. Manti Te'o did lose his grandmother. He did not lose his girlfriend, as we came to find out. Yeah, this is one of those where you read it and you go, I got to read it again. And then you just go, I'm shocked here. I'm absolutely shocked. The Manti Te'o story moved beyond the world of sports on the day of the BCS title game because it was Notre Dame and Alabama. CBS This Morning ran a 3-minute story that featured a direct quote from Lene Kukua. Babe, if anything happens to me, you promise that you'll stay there and you'll play and you'll honor me through the way you play. Yeah, Paul.
And this happened, the death of the girlfriend, which turned out to be true, happened in early September. The South Bend Tribune did a piece on it. It appeared, Manti Te'o then, right after that, became a big story because there's more to his story, the bad side of it. Sports Illustrated put him on the cover on October 1st, which jumpstarted his Heisman campaign. And then there's numerous reports where he talks about his girlfriend and the issues, and like it's not someone else but him talking about it for months before it came out in January.
But so then they did the movie Catfish. Was Catfish already out?
It was a TV show on MTV, I think. But
they did a documentary.
There was a documentary about it that then became a TV
show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In different games during the season, the broadcast of Notre Dame games had a picture and a quotes about Manti Te'o's dead girlfriend. There was a CBS game that Notre Dame played, and they're recapping Te'o, and they said his grandmother died. And they have a picture of a woman who knows who that picture is of, and quotes of Manti Te'o talking about his dead girlfriend.
They said that the hoax began crumbling around November of 2012. Supposedly, his girlfriend's sister popped up on Twitter under the name Iolani Ray Kukua, and Manti Te'o immediately tweeted out the following: one of the realest people I know. Shout out to her. She's new to Twitter. Yeah, see.
So the woman who, like Paul was just talking about, the picture that they were showing on TV, that woman became aware of the story. Her identity hasn't been released because they're trying to protect her from all this stuff. But like she saw that picture, was like, oh my God, that's me. That's a picture of me from Facebook that they're using as the face of this dead girl. Can you imagine?
Oh, man.
And Notre Dame found out about this in late December before the national title game, and everyone sat on it. They basically held their breath, and then Deadspin got the tip and went to work.
That's the craziest story, dude.
I'm rereading the story right now, and it's just as surreal as that day. Go back and read it again if you haven't.
It's such a long story, and it's so detailed on Deadspin, and you're just going, how did this happen?
We had on the author of the story, Tim Burke, on the next morning, and he even said, he goes, I couldn't believe it when I got the tip. He said, well, I'm being baited into looking into a story that can't be true. And then they looked up Social Security numbers and names, and they started there, any court records for this person, and it all went south.
He didn't win the Heisman.
No, he was a Heisman finalist.
But I have a picture of him holding up the Heisman, and I'm wondering what this did to his Heisman campaign, because, I mean, that was such a huge story. What was bigger, that feel-good, crazy Hollywood story, and you're doing this for your girlfriend who's dying, or was it the fact that it was all fake?
He lost the Heisman to Johnny Manziel. Whose career would you rather have?
Well, Manti Te'o's still playing, right?
Yeah, but
I'd rather have Johnny Manziel's. I would. I mean, Johnny's got baggage, but there's no fake dead girlfriend in there.
No.
Not that we know of. Oh, man. And then I remember watching that documentary, Catfish, and, then all of a sudden they started to do a show. Did Manti Te'o reach out to I thought he had communication with the people from Catfish, whether it's the documentary. I don't know if you see that or not, but in the story, Paulie. But I thought that he reached out to them, but he deleted a tweet to them.
Checking on that. I remember the show we did the day after the story came out, and we discussed what it would take for people to forget about this. And we said, if Manti Te'o has a 8-time All-Pro Hall of Fame career, it's a footnote. It's a funny footnote. He has never made a Pro Bowl.
Who's he play for?
New Orleans.
Okay.
I think he's done, though.
Backup linebacker.
Oh, he's out.
I'm not sure he's still with them. We should check. He hasn't had a great career.
Wants to spend more time with his dead girlfriend.
That's not necessary.
That's
not
necessary.
necessary.
All right, my bad.
You're better than that.
I didn't know the mic was on. I thought we were off the air. Bob Uecker coming up. Dan Patrick Show. do you have to give the voice? Like if somebody sees you, they go, "Come on, let me hear the voice from Sling Blade."
Oh yeah, I mean ever since I get that, but
and that's not a setup for me to ask you to do the voice here,
right? Oh,
or was it?
Oh, Dan.
Or was it?
Oh yeah,
mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, to tell you the truth, I get asked to do it far less often than people do it for me, and you know how it is. I mean, you're a public figure. You go out in public, people want to take a picture with you. You know how it is, and the thing that gets me, I don't mind. I'm codependent, so I'll stand around and talk to people all day. I don't care, you know. But I was in a mall one day out in Glendale, California, there, and there's this family that came up, and they were from the Midwest somewhere, and they were in the mall in California, and so they said, "Oh, you know what?" It's one of the kids telling me this. My uncle does the best impression of you from Sling Blade, which I've heard 700 million times. And he says he's really good at it. And I go, well, tell your uncle I said hello. That's really cool. And then they go, can we take a picture with you? Which I also don't mind doing, if you know how to operate your equipment. But they never do.
No, they don't.
They never know how to operate.
It's like it's the first time they ever taken a picture with
absolutely.
With a camera.
And for some reason, when they don't know how to operate it, it's never like a cell phone. It's one of those cameras where the little lens comes creeping out, and it always goes back in, and they hand it to each other, and it's like, yeah, you do it, and then none of them can work it. So I'm standing there waiting on this to happen. Now, here was the bad luck on this guy, and this is the reason I remember this guy in particular. The teenager says, yeah, Uncle Ernie can really do you. So, wow. So anyway, yeah, let's don't do that. No, I don't want to meet Uncle Ernie. So anyway, I said, tell Uncle Ernie hello. That's really cool that he can do the voice. I'm sure it's great. He goes, well, he's right down here in the shoe store. I'll go get him. I'm like, oh, wow, what luck. So I stand there for like 10 or 15 minutes waiting for Uncle Ernie to buy his tennis shoes and then come back down there to do the voice, which was awful. Yeah.
So I was going to do a look-in where I showed you this great dunk.
Yeah.
But
It's not ready?
nothing's ready yet.
Dude, I was watching.
Well, who do we
Tom
blame?
Chambers putting his
No,
foot
it's
into Mark
better.
Jackson's chest?
It's moments
I
away.
can hear Mario.
I'm coming.
The speed. Thank you. This is one of my favorite. I think this is one of the greatest in-game dunks I've ever seen. Melvin Levitt from Cincinnati. Watch him come down the lane here. I love Melvin Levitt.
Number 35.
Number 29. Over his team. And the follow-up is the best.
He's going the wrong way. Like he's going away from
Yes. And over his own 7-foot teammate. Mel Levitt does not get the credit he deserves, so I wanted to give him some love.
And that's third in this 34 minutes. Wow.
Mel Levitt.
You love it, I love it.
You'll love it at Levitt.
I don't know who's going to get that, but I know who's It's like a Newmarket Lewis reference or something.
That's a good one. Man, I wish I could jump like that.
Just once?
Just once.
You know what is? I wished I could jump like that, but I thought I could play like Allen Iverson. I could do neither of it.
Buckle up, boys. Time to go to work. Conspiracy theory.
I think the Lakers are not practicing at that billionaire's house. I think they found out that a couple players tested positive, and they're all quarantining together, drinking off the same cup, eating off the same plates, and using one bathroom. Get everyone immune.
Is it more of an advantage if your players are testing positive now? I mean, you're not hoping for it, but there's a benefit to this. If your starting five is already tested through this, got the antibodies or whatever it might be.
Of the king!
I am immortal. It's an advantage.
Man, you're like a genius, man.
Welcome to the Dan Patrick Show.
Gum is permitted.
Hosted by Dan Patrick and joined by the 4 Dan Nats.
But you can't spit it out.
Oh, come on. Come on.
Broadcasting from the Mercedes Man Cave, this is Dan Patrick.
Final hour on this Friday. It's a Traeger Meat Friday. I think it's hamburgers out there. Yeah, Paul, is it?
It's hamburgers mixed with cheese, mixed with chorizo.
Oh.
Lovely.
Just took our game to another level there. All right, coming up, Bob Uecker, the Hall of Famer, Milwaukee Brewers broadcaster, coming back for his, I think, 50th season with the Brewers. He's going to do their home games coming up. And when you think of Bob Uecker, well, he was an average baseball player. And I think he actually got traded because he was a good personality and not a good baseball player. I think he was traded to the Cardinals because he was considered a guy who was a good clubhouse guy. And, you know, he was below the Mendoza. It should have been the Uecker line. Like, I think he was right at the Mendoza line, and even 200 for his career. So he was Mendoza before Mendoza. And, but he parlayed this into, he was on late night with Johnny Carson. And he was just so funny because he made fun of himself, self-deprecating. And Carson just let him go and loved him. Then the Miller Lite commercial. He was on that. And then he was in the Major League movies as the announcer. I mean, he was a household name. But he was also the Brewers broadcaster. And he has that great ability to tell a story and have fun. So I thought it would be great to send you into the weekend at least thinking of some positive things, some fun things about Major League Baseball. So Bob will join us coming up in a little bit. 877-3DP-SHOW, email address dp@danpatrick.com. We spent a lot of time on some different things, including the decision, the backstory with LeBron James and the decision we're coming up on 10 years ago. Imagine that at age 25, LeBron had the power to be able to say to ESPN, I want an hour to make my decision of where I'm going to go. Now, that was the first mistake was you needed an hour to do that because Jim Gray had to ask 23 questions before he got the answer of where LeBron was going. I mean, it was poorly produced, but the power of that, and that kind of opened the door, I think, for some of these athletes to be able to go, you know, we can kind of control the story. Derek Jeter with the Players Tribune. You just had a lot of these, but Tiger Woods controls, his press releases. But, that was a fascinating story at the time. And Don Van Natta, by all accounts, has done a really good job on the decision. That'll be Sunday night on ESPN. Then I asked him, what's the next thing you're working on? He goes, well, we're pretty deep into the Manti Te'o story. I went, oh, all right. I'm interested in that. So Manti Te'o played at Notre Dame, and he got catfished. I never knew the term catfished until Manti Te'o. And he got catfished because this great story, heartwarming story, it was, right out of a Hollywood movie. Got a girlfriend. She's in a car accident. She's got leukemia. She has her phone on in her hospital room, and Manti Te'o has his phone on, and he falls asleep. They talk to each other, and then we find out that he didn't have. Then his girlfriend died, and this is while Notre Dame is playing for a national title with Alabama. So that will be an interesting one with backstory with Don Van Natta. But will they get Manti Te'o to cooperate? Because the decision, LeBron James is not in the decision, and Jim Gray, who hosted, is not in that story as well. Yeah, Paul.
If you were Manti Te'o and ESPN said, not only we'll do this, we'll do a 30 for 30 around it, would you participate?
No.
It's kind of in your rearview mirror now.
No. Nope. 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 Got to move on.
No upside, no.
Nope. 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 Yes, Todd.
What if Manti Te'o says, I don't believe ESPN, I'm not going to get catfished again. You're not really doing a documentary on me, so I'm not going to fall for that and participate.
Okay. All right. Well,
that's not even
that
gonna
might be a
happen.
little bit of a stretch there. Bob Uecker's career average was actually 1997. So we have to round up to get to 200 there. So we'll give him that. Couple of phone calls here. Phil in Indiana. Hey, Phil, what do you have for me today?
Dan, it's always a pleasure. You're a first-class guy. Hey, I wanted to comment on Manti Te'o. I lived in South Bend at the time. The hot story there was that he found out the night of the Heisman Trophy presentation, which he came in second, and then he still, when they interviewed him during that night, even though he had found out he was catfished, he still commented on his deceased girlfriend. So I just, another goofy twist, but I just thought I'd bring it up.
All right. Well, thank you, Phil. I did not know that. It felt like, and maybe he's acknowledged this, Paulie, that Manti Te'o continued the hoax. He perpetuated the hoax.
In his interview, I think it was Oprah, and he did another interview. He apologized for not clearing it up when he knew, which was like late November. He knew that he's been played, and I think that he just kept it going, but he tried to downplay it and talk less about it.
Yeah, but Deadspin had the expose on this, and I remember reading it. I had to read it again because I thought, wait, what are they saying? None of this is true. Is any of this true? He's true. I don't know if anybody else is true here. We also talked about Vince Carter and his career and his impact on the career. And I guess there was discussion in the sports world yesterday, Vince Carter, not a Hall of Famer. And I went, unless it's another sport we're talking about. Of course he's basketball Hall of Famer. But we were talking about best dunks. Is the dunk over Frederick Weiss the best dunk ever? I mean, it is in-game. It's in the Olympics. Yeah, McLevin.
But the Olympics, that's not the same as an NBA game.
It's still in-game dunk. It's in the top 10. How's that? He jumped over a 7-footer.
Oh, I think it's number one.
Oh, you do?
I think it's tied with the cradle. The cradle dunk.
The
over
cradle
Michael.
dunk by Dr. J over Cooper. I felt bad for Coop because that's when you have good intentions. I'm going to go after this, and then all of a sudden you could see Coop just kind of duck out of the way because Doc was going to cradle, and then he that was an awesome dunk. Yeah, McLevin.
I'm going to take something away from the Tom Chambers dunk because if you ever jumped off a wall to dunk, he was using Jackson as leverage.
I know, but he still put his foot in Mark Jackson's sternum and then dunked on him. Brent in Texas joins us. Hi, Brent. What do you have for me today?
Best dunk of all time nominee, 92 Western Conference Finals, Warrior Sonics, the one known as the Lister Blister, where Sean Kemp gets the ball at the top of the key in Seattle, dunks over former Sonic Alton Lister, then has the double point at him before heading back down the floor. Love you guys. Love the show.
Thank you, buddy. Yeah, that was harsh. Sean Kemp had a lot of talent. He could have been great. NBA Players Association announced the COVID-19 test results, if you've been waiting for those. In tests conducted of 302 NBA players on June 23rd, 16 players have tested positive. That's all we know. So 16 have tested positive out of 302. So I'm not good at math. Is that 5%?
Does that sound bad or?
I don't know. Yeah, who is testing positive is more interesting than how many test positive. Star players and who they've been around practicing with. Yes, McLevin.
Yeah, I saw the statistician Nate Silver said that the positive test rate is usually about 7% now. So 5% is in range of what's going on out there.
All right. Jonathan in Florida. Hey, Jonathan, what do you have for me today?
What up, DP?
Hi, Jonathan.
Hey, happy Meat Friday, you and Dan Nance. I got a couple other good dunks. I still think the Vince Carter one's the best in-game one I've seen, just because it was on a world stage, just the setting. I think that was just crazy. But another good one is Scottie Pippen over Patrick Ewing in the 94 playoffs, I believe. That's probably the most disrespectful dunk I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Shoves him to the floor and then tells Spike Lee to sit down. And then another good one, a sneaky one, is Baron Davis over Andrei Kirilenko in 2007 playoffs, just because the crowd was just going crazy after that.
And Andrei Kirilenko, AK-47, was supposed to be – he was a great defensive player. Thanks for the phone call, Jonathan. He was always up there in blocks. Like he was a good defender. Didn't he get the hall pass from his wife? Wasn't – like – remember?
I like that you remember it. It's like 9 years ago.
I know. Didn't he get a one – I don't know if it was a one-time only or a yearly hall pass from his wife. Are they still married? TJ in Colorado. TJ, how are you?
Hey, good morning, Dan.
Good morning.
First time, long time. So I have one question or two questions about the COVID-19 deal. One, how big is that asterisk going to be if LeBron tests positive the week of the finals? And two, would it be a bigger deal if Brady tested positive, assuming he made it to the Super Bowl?
Oh, I can't go that deep. Come on, TJ. It's a Friday. I made it to Friday. We got to think positive. And the deeper you go into the playoffs in the NBA, the less likely, I think, that you're going to test positive. Anybody who wins a title, given what is going on now, you earned it. I don't care who wins baseball, you earn it. College football, you earn it. Football, NFL, you earn it. NBA, you earn it. Absolutely. Yeah, Paul.
I think that's coming up. That's going to be one of the most surreal videos of the year. Whoever wins the NBA title, they're going to celebrate and go nuts like it's one of the biggest days of their life in front of 40 or 50 people in a half-size gym in Orlando, Florida on Disney's campus. And I don't care what sound they put in or what they do to doctor it up. It's going to feel like when a team celebrates a summer league in the NBA times 20. Because they're all going to be going crazy. I don't know if they're going to shoot confetti in the air, but you know how people celebrate the NBA Finals and the media rushes the court and everyone's going crazy? It'll be the exact opposite of that.
But you're going to get these cities celebrating.
Right, but not the moment.
Although
Game
I
seven.
don't know. I mean, you're not going to have social distancing when it comes to celebrating. It'll be en masse, downtown, wherever. I remember being at Staples when I was at the mothership, and the Lakers won the title. And we went into our broadcast truck, and people were pushing the broadcast truck. And one of the people in there said, "Show your face." And it didn't register. They were burning a police car, and one of the people in there, I don't want to mention any names, but said, "Just show your face." And I stepped out of our truck, our TV truck, and they saw that it was me. They, for some reason, and then I just said, "Hey guys, stop, no," and they did. But we were worried that they were going to try to tip over the TV truck, and so when somebody says, "Show your face," I'm like, "No." Do you want me to go da 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 da? Oh, okay. My bad. Don't worry about it. Because, we leave the building, get in the truck, because it's getting crazy out there. And I was like, oh, boy. This isn't how I want to go. Josh in Indiana. Hi, Josh. What do you have for me today?
Hey, Dan. How's it going? Happy Meat Friday to you guys.
Well, thank you, Josh.
Well, hey, I just wanted to let you know a dear coworker of ours and union brother of ours is retiring today, and I just wanted to give a shout out to him. I'm going to check in. I don't know if it's pinpoint correct, but I'm going to say 6 foot, 200 pounds for Terry F. from St. Minard, Indiana. He's retiring today, and I know he helped a lot of us out. I've worked with him personally for 6 years, and I believe he's worked with us for 27 years, and it means a lot for everything he's helped us out with. And I know he's an avid listener to you guys, and I think he wanted to call. I suggested for him to call in today, but he said he didn't think the chat room would let him through. So.
All right. Well, Josh, you're a good coworker. And Terry, congratulations and good luck in retirement there. Jake in Wisconsin is back. Whoa. You got a Bob Uecker story for me?
Oh, dude, I've got a lot of those stories for you. But one of my favorite things while working at the stadium, he'd always call you kid. Hey, kid, go over, help him out, do whatever he needed. But the dude has so much pull and respect at the stadium. He drives his Corvette and parks it literally inside the stadium. He parks it all the way up into the warehouse and walks right into the stadium. Like, the dude walks around like royalty, man.
Well, he's earned it.
Oh, absolutely. He's got a statue outside the stadium, for crying out loud. But one of the nicest guys. I'm super pumped that you got him on, and I can't wait to giggle and laugh at your interview with him, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jake. Great to hear from you. I saw this with the bubble in Orlando. Local, state, and federal law enforcement plus former special ops forces will be employed to secure the bubble site and keep NBA personnel safe from any intruders. Okay. Not going to let anybody off campus and not going to let anybody in. Teams are expected to begin arriving to the Florida complex on or around July 7th. We'll go to Anthony in Ohio, then we'll take a break and make way for Bob Uecker. Hey, Anthony.
Hey, DP. Tough to open up for Bob Uecker, but I'll do my best.
Okay.
First off, suck at front row, and then I had a dunk for you. Was when Shaq was with the Lakers and he dunked on Chris Dudley so bad that Dudley whipped the ball at him.
I think he knocked Dudley over, right?
Yeah, he did, and Dudley. Shaq lifted his legs up and did the whole hang on the rim thing, and Dudley just got so embarrassed that he ended up whipping the ball at him and getting teed up.
Thank you, Anthony. Wasn't Chris Dudley a politician? Wasn't he a politician somewhere?
He went to Yale, right?
Yeah, but I thought he held an office.
Maybe.
One of the worst free throw shooters in NBA history.
What do you expect from a Yalie?
Wow.
Yeah, that was Dartmouth trash talk right there.
Yeah, man, you're crushing him. Yeah, I think Chris Dudley. Yeah, Todd.
Yeah, he's listed as a retired basketball player and politician.
Oh, all right. I don't know what.
Do you have to be in office to be a politician? Can you call yourself a politician if you're between gigs?
What if you run for office but don't win? Are you a politician?
Well, this says that he ran for governor of Oregon.
But did he get elected?
No.
Won the primary, though, it looks like.
Yeah.
But, okay, what constitutes being a politician?
If you get drafted in the NBA and the team doesn't sign you, can you say you're a professional basketball player? That's what I'd say.
You got to get a check, right?
One check.
You got to get one check.
You got to get something that says to the governor of Oregon, sworn in.
Yeah, even if you're ousted from office, not that it would be Chris Dudley, but if he was, he would have been the governor at some point.
Chris Dudley. He was like a 41% free throw shooter, I think. Yeah, McLeod.
He's the nicest. I don't know if you remember. He's the nicest guy in sports. I can't believe he was a politician.
Yeah. Chris Dudley. He had a good run. Who would have thought we'd talked about Chris Dudley today?
Would you rather be a journeyman NBA center or governor of Oregon?
I'd rather be a journeyman center.
No, governor of Oregon.
No, I don't want to be a governor.
You definitely had him on your fantasy teams. I could tell by
No, I did not have Chris Dudley on my fantasy team.
Like he was a rebounding guy. I remember that.
Yeah, but he would kill you in every other category. Yeah, Paul.
Dan, we're huge in Oregon. I think you could run and probably win if you chose to. What a great state to be a governor. You travel all around.
No, it's a thankless job.
Oh.
Yes,
Yeah, you don't want any part of that.
Oh, God.
In the right state, you do. Like Montana?
No,
sure.
No, I don't know. I can't. Not good.
What about, like, Senate?
No. I mean, some of the jobs sound easy.
It sounds like you're just cashing checks all the time for some of these gigs.
Yeah. I don't want to be a politician. It's like somebody asked me if I wanted to open a sports bar. And I go, why? Wait, yeah, can't wait to get sued. Right? Doesn't, when you put your name on a bar, doesn't it scream, oh, now I know who to sue? Like this guy said, you should open up a sports bar. And I go, why? So I can go in and talk sports? He goes, yeah. And I go, I do it every day.
You can host your own trivia night.
Yeah.
Hi. Welcome to Dan Patrick's. I'm Dan Patrick. We got Wednesday trivia for you.
God, I can't wait to talk sports with drunk guys. Come on in.
10-cent wing night.
Yeah,
Come on in.
Come on in. All right, let me take a break. Bob Uecker set to join us coming up. I think the burgers are ready to come off the Traeger grill. I think, but we got to wait 20 minutes. After Uecker, then we can have the burgers. All right, we'll take a break. Back after this in the Dan Patrick Show. What's your favorite piece of sports memorabilia you have?
I don't have anything, Dan. I really don't. I don't collect anything, but I did. This is going to sound terrible. I went to the White House for a luncheon, and I sat next to Stan Musial at the luncheon. Stan Musial and Brooks Robinson sat next to me. How great is that? So Stan Musial says to me, would you like an autographed picture? And even though I don't collect anything, because that's not what I do, of course I say, yes, I would love one. And 2 days later, an autographed picture of Stan Musial showed up at my house. And I went like 2 years before I saw him again. And the first thing he said to me was, did you like the picture? And I thought, oh, my gosh, Stan Musial has got so many other things to worry about and to think about. Remembered me being sent a picture and thought enough of it 2 years later to ask me about it. That's who Stan Musial was, one of the great all-time players, and along with Brooks Robinson, the two nicest superstar players I've ever met in my life.
What's up, everybody? This is Marvin. I'm the guy who usually answers your emails and phone calls. I got a good one right here, stat of the day. Regarding my man Vince Carter. This is from Leslie Clifford. He's I'm trying to be a star.
What are you doing?
Little stat of the day.
Oh, stat of the day?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Everybody's on TV now.
Yeah.
Well, Ario and you? Did you give the stat of the day yet?
No, not yet. I'm going to do it now.
Okay,
Paul, if you want to say a quick hi,
Okay.
it's up to you. Just to
Cool.
install those. We got another 3 now.
Now that Vince is retired, next season will be the first season in 55 years that there's not been a Dean Smith coached player on an NBA roster. That right there is your stat of the day.
Stat of the day, stat of the day, pop, stat of the day. Here comes that.
What?
Stat of the day.
Cool.
Okay, we're going to take a look at the scoreboard here. 2 and 3. The clue, Candles for Captain Clutch. Candles for Captain Clutch, number 2. On this date in 1974, Derek Jeter, jersey number 2, was born. Taking a look at number 3, the clue is taking him was the right answer. Answer is in the nickname for Allen Iverson. On this day in 1996, Allen Iverson, jersey number 3, selected first overall by the 76ers. I believe the winner was Mike in Wisconsin. I'm getting confirmation. Mario? Mike in Wisconsin? Mike in Wisconsin, congratulations. 2, Jeter, 3, Iverson. Have a great weekend, everybody.
So it was 98. He wanted me to trade for Randy Johnson from Seattle. He wanted, Cleveland was our big rival that particular year. It was my first year as GM. And he's like, you better do this. He was pressuring the hell out of me to trade for Randy Johnson. But our team was so good, I was worried that I had known Randy, Lou Piniella being a former manager of ours, and I had worked with him. I had always asked Lou when he was managing Seattle, every time they'd go on the East Coast swing, Randy was supposed to pitch against us. And then it would turn out they'd reshuffle the rotation. He'd pitch the last game in Fenway or the first game in Baltimore, and he'd miss us. So it happened year after year, and I finally asked Lou, hey, what's going on with that? He said he doesn't like to pitch at Yankee Stadium. So right away, I was like, I'm going to trade for this guy who doesn't want to pitch in New York in Yankee Stadium. And, so at the end of the day, I chose not to. And he would take the position of, you better be right. And he wound up going to Houston, and he was amazing. And they got knocked out in the first round. And, so we didn't have to deal with them with the Indians. And, the rest was history. We went on and won the World Series that year. But the position George would take would be, if I was adversarial against something he wanted, I would say, Gene Michael told me this. All right, I'll do it. If this is what you want, I'm going to make sure everybody knows this is what you want.
Yeah, but then he became a Yankee in 05.
Yes.
Yeah. So what happened?
Well, we were desperate. and at the end of the day, that 98. I mean, again, you have to evaluate your team chemistry and everything else. The 98 team had something that was so unique and special that you didn't want to mess with that clubhouse too easily, and I mean, it didn't really seem to have a need where the 2005 team did. Yeah. So it was just completely different circumstances. So.
More phone calls coming up. Bob Uecker has called the fourth most games on radio in baseball history. He's trailing the retired Vin Scully. Vin did it 67 years. Another Dodger icon, Jamie Jarren, 62 years and running. Or I should say Jaime Jarren. Kansas City's Denny Matthews, 52 years and counting. And Bob is ready for his 50th year calling Brewers games. And Bob Uecker, Mr. Baseball, joining us on the program. Hi, Bob. How are you?
Daniel, son, how you doing?
I'm doing okay.
Good.
No pressure on you other than I wanted to have some fun with baseball, and there hasn't been anything fun with baseball as of late. So how are you doing? How's your morale?
I'm doing okay. I'm glad we're going back to work, and it'll be my 65th year overall in baseball, as a player, if you want to say that. And of course, calling the games here in Milwaukee. I worked a couple of seasons with the Braves with Milo Hamilton and Ernie Johnson before Bud Selig brought me back to Milwaukee. But other than that, I'm hanging around and I'm waiting to go back to work.
I just saw where your official batting average in your career was 199.7.
That I couldn't. A lot of my sponsors would be upset if it dropped below 200, because at that time it tied me with another sports great averaging 200 or better for a 10-year period, and that was Hall of Fame bowler Don Carter. So I don't want to blow that off.
But were you the Mendoza line before the Mendoza line, Bob?
Well, yeah, but she's got a job in baseball now. I think she works for the Mets, doesn't she?
That's a different Mendoza.
Oh, okay.
Tell me if this is right. Did you get traded? Did your baseball career get extended because you were a good clubhouse guy?
Yeah. I mean, laundry's got to be done, Dan. You know that. For a couple of extra bucks a month, I was making below the minimum. You know that. And selling other players' equipment got me a couple of bucks. Doing laundry, there's a lot of things that you can do without playing. I actually thought it was an infringement when they asked me to play a game.
But I thought you got traded to the Cardinals because you were going to back up McCarver and you might have had a better arm, but they liked your personality. Is that true?
and I think arm-wise, I had one on each side, which was important at that time. But yeah, to back up Timmy, who's remained a great friend, and yeah, of course, we win a World Series that year when I got traded to St. Louis, and I'm not going to say anything. They didn't win one before. When I got there, they won. So, something had to be working right.
When you first went on Carson, first time you were on there, were you still playing baseball?
No, I was done, and as a matter of fact, the first show I did with Johnny was in New York. They hadn't moved to the West Coast yet. I think it was in 1970, maybe 69 or 70.
How'd you end up on the show?
I had been friends with a great trumpeter, one of the legendary trumpeters of all time, Al Hurt. And I did a couple of jobs with him. I was traveling. Alex Karras was a guy that I worked with. He was there because he was a great player, and I was the wind-up speaker. But I did a couple of jobs with Al Hurt, and he told me he was going to get me on the Tonight Show. And I said, oh, yeah, sure. Well, I got a call from the Tonight Show about 2 weeks later, and I went to New York. I had an audition with a talent guy, and I went in his office, and he said, what do? I said, nothing. He said, well, let me see some of your stuff, or let me hear what you're going to talk about. So I did a couple of things. He told me, we'll call you back. 2 weeks later, they called me back to New York, and I did the show with Johnny. And I remember the one thing that was funny about it, Dan, was at the end of the show when, they're saying goodnight and everything, I heard Johnny say to Ed after we said goodnight, did that guy really play baseball? Ed said, I think so. So but I went back 2 weeks later and did another one, and then I got to be kind of a pretty regular, with Johnny. We had a great relationship, and I still do with Doc Severinsen, and a lot of the guys in the band. I would go over and do a Tonight Show when we were playing in Anaheim. When the Brewers were playing in Anaheim, I would go over and do a Tonight Show, and then come back. I'd get back maybe in the third inning, and some of the band guys would come up and sit in the booth at the ballpark. So it was. I had a great time with the Tonight Shows all the time.
How did that change your life?
Well, it raised my salary by $220 a month. That was the big thing. Plus, I had a pension, the Screen Actors Guild, so I wasn't worried about baseball anymore. But I did, I stuck around baseball 6 years, I guess. Had a great time doing it. Made great, really great friendships, including yourself and your crew there. But all of those. If I ever had a good year, it would have really screwed me up later. I couldn't. There were a couple of times I got off to good starts. I had to go in the tank.
Well, yeah, there's nothing funny about getting off to a good start. Like batting 225 is not funny, but 197, that's funny.
Exactly. And, sitting in the other team's dugout was not always all that pleasant, but I was still at the game. Wearing a road uniform at home, that didn't a lot of people, but.
And Carson introduced you one time. When you think of great baseball players, a lot of names come to mind. Bob Uecker is not one of them.
Right.
And he called you Mr. Baseball.
Yeah, and that kind of stuck around. I have a great picture at home here of him, Elston Howard, and Roger Maris in New York, and Mickey, all with Johnny, and he's got a Yankee uniform on, and it looks awful on him the way he's wearing it. The socks are down on the ground, but he's with them and he had a glove on. I think he tried to throw batting practice to those guys at Yankee Stadium.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. He was a great guy to work with, Dan, and like I said before, I always had a great time with him. He treated me. I never got bumped off the show. I always stayed on, and somebody else got bumped. But we had a good relationship. Matter of fact, I went out to the University of Nebraska. He built a studio and a really nice building out there for people who want to get involved in movies, television, whatever it may be. And I went out there as part of the opening with that. With our owner, Mark Attanasio, as a matter of fact. and had a great time. They did a lot of shows, old Tonight shows that Johnny, I could break his chops, man. I could make him laugh. I just saw one somebody just sent me one of me, and it was a picture of me and Bob Gibson holding hands.
I love that picture. So that's the team picture. So Gibson was in on the joke, the team picture with the Hall of Fame pitcher. You're holding hands with Bob Gibson, who seemed like a very serious guy.
He was really good. He was a great friend. As the guy was getting ready to shoot the photo, I just reached over and grabbed his hand, and we both started smiling, and they took the picture. It was really good.
I love it. We're talking to Bob Uecker, his 50th year with the Brewers. And people should know, like, you did have some legitimate moments there. You homered off Sandy Koufax.
Yeah.
I mean, that's real. At Dodger Stadium, right?
Yeah, but every time I see him, I apologize. I always thought that was going to keep him out of the Hall of Fame. I was really worried about that.
Is that why Sandy doesn't do interviews, is because he gave up the home run to you?
That's part of it. That's part of it, yeah. I don't know why I hit him fairly well. I really don't. Maybe it was, I don't know, probably 5:30 instead of 8 o'clock.
Well, you didn't want those shadows if Koufax was on the mound. That'd be trouble. Did you have to audition for the role of Harry Doyle in Major League?
No, I was doing a game in Chicago against the White Sox with the Brewers, and a security guy came in and said, "There's two guys outside want to talk to you." So when I got off for my innings off, I went out in the hallway at Old Comiskey Park, and Chris Chesser and David Ward were there, and they had this script for the movie and asked me if I would consider doing it. So I said, I'll look at it, which I was going to do it anyway, whether it was good or bad. But I looked at it and read it, and they told me, you do whatever you want. You do the script, do your stuff, do whatever you want. And I did, and I had a good time. I met a lot of good people, and the movie did good. And Major League 2, Major League 3 was on airplanes the day after we finished. It was terrible.
Yeah. Did you know at the time when you did the first Major League that it was going to be good?
It had some really funny stuff in it. And I met Charlie Sheen the first night. The Brewers came back from a road trip, and they had already set up County Stadium for the movie. And David asked me if I'd go in and say hello to Charlie Sheen. He wanted to say hello. So I went in his trailer and talked to him for a while, and then when I watched him throw, I mean, he threw pretty good. He really did.
Yeah.
And watching Tom Berenger work behind the plate, and Steve Yeager deserved a lot of credit for that, too, because he really worked with Tom. But, the script was kind of funny. I didn't use any big-time curse words. I was kind of shocked when I heard the first one. But other than that, they kind of let me do what I wanted. I did their stuff, and then they made the picks.
Yeah, there's great stuff in there.
Just a bit outside was a natural, man. I mean, I'm doing a radio game. You're looking at a movie, but when you're on radio, Dan, you can do anything you want. Nobody can see it.
Were you ever a beer guy on the air like Harry Carey was?
No, not really. I was into Jack Daniels.
The team it depended on how bad the team was that year, what you were drinking?
The team was at the airport. A lot of times I was still doing the game.
But I remember listening to Joe Nuxall. And Joe Nuxall, God rest his soul, he'd always say, the old left-hander rounding third, heading for home. Yep. He spilled his beer on his scorecard one night when I was listening to him and Marty Brennan. And it was just so funny because we're listening on the radio, and Joe spills it. He's not describing what he just did, and you just hear him like he's mad, and it's Marty Brenneman's trying to call the game, and then they eventually got around to Joe had spilled his beer on his scorecard there.
And, they were a great team, Dan. I you know what his name for me was? Blatzy. Remember Blatt's
Blatt's beer?
That's what he drank.
Oh, God. My dad drank Blatt's.
Yeah, I called him Blatt. I never called him Joe. I called him Blatt his whole life. Yeah. He's a great friend, too, man. What a guy. They were a great team. Great team. I'm going to miss Marty this year.
Yeah, Hall of Famer.
Yep.
On a serious note, this virus here, Bob.
Yep.
How concerned are you?
Well, I am. I feel bad, Dan, for all the people that got furloughed. I don't care if it's baseball or anything else. People that I've worked around here at the ballpark for a lot of years and got furloughed. And I got furloughed when I was in the Army. That was about it for me, and I was on our side too. I want that out. But it's sad when I see what's happening. We're going back to work on a very limited basis. My partner Jeff Levering and Lane Grindle will be totally separated. We'll all be separated by a big piece of plexiglass in the booth. And you know what our booth looks like in Milwaukee, so and the engineer will be separated from us. I have to go in there's a whole different set of rules to do this stuff. You know, you got to be tested every other day, I guess. Matter of fact, I'm going to get tested tonight. My wife and I and our trainer Roger Kaplinger is going to do that. But you know, I get a second look a lot of times because I go into a store once in a while and I'm wearing my catcher's mask.
I don't know if that's approved by the CDC there.
Well, it saves the pain from a punch because there's a lot of people still living that saw me play. So I got to see.
Do you think you would have done steroids if they were around?
Maybe. I don't think so. Suppositories, maybe. Not steroids. No.
Does your wife? Do people get straight answers out of you?
Sometimes.
Yeah, okay, that's what I figured.
A parole officer does.
You've never been arrested.
Oh, yes, I have.
Really?
Yeah, I got 2 hits in a game.
Well, it'd be great to have you back, and thanks for just putting a smile on some people's faces today, Uecker. It's great to talk to you, as always.
I appreciate it. Hello to all your gang there, and thanks to you.
Thank you, buddy. That's Bob Uecker, Mr. Baseball there. I love that he homered off Sandy Koufax, and he apologized to him. I mean, he's 86 years of age. Still got his fastball there. That's good. But it was a big deal when he was. You can Google this, Bob Uecker, on the Tonight Show, and it's Uecker in case you're having problems spelling that. But he goes out there, and Johnny Carson was you look at Letterman and all these other guys, Leno. Carson was a big deal, and to be on the biggest TV show in America, and he went out and killed. He slayed. All right, we'll take a break. Last call for phone calls, what we learn, what's in store tomorrow. And if you're watching on YouTube.com, by the way, Marvin, who answers our phones, among the other things he does, made his YouTube debut. He gave his stat of the day.
Roaring success in the chat room.
Yeah, well, it's either rooting for him or Ario, and Chat Row, of course, hates Ario. But Marvin made his debut. So he had a stat of the day email that he brought to your attention. If you're watching on YouTube, wait till you see what we're taking off the Traeger. That's coming up next. Vin Scully's genius was what?
Vinny's genius was a lot of things. I mean, first of all, he did this for 67 years. I said to Chris on the air the other night, because it popped into my head, that who has a 67-year career in anything? Name somebody, anybody, an executive, a factory worker. That's 67 years. That's next to impossible because you have to start when you're about 20. The guy that came to mind, who was at the top of the top of his game for all of those years, was Don Rickles. Don Rickles started as a comedian in his early 20s, and he still did a one-man show that I went to last January, and he is still, very close to the top of his game. Vinny had a tremendous connection with the audience. He went through generations of Dodger fans. Look, I listened to him since I was 6 years old. I grew up in Brooklyn. We moved to L.A. concurrent with the Dodgers, so I've heard Vinny my entire life. And the unbelievable thing, Dan, is that, as recently as a month ago, I'm driving home, coming off the freeway. I'm listening to Vinny call a game. It's the Dodgers and the Rockies in late August or whatever it was. It didn't mean anything. The game didn't mean much. And Vinny's telling a couple of stories. And all I know is I got into my driveway, and I don't open up the garage door because I need 5 more minutes to hear Vinny finish the story. So the car is idling. And I'm thinking to myself, this is unbelievable. I was listening to this man do this in the early 50s, and now I'm hearing it in 2016. And, it's funny because Bob Costas and I, we were in Pittsburgh the other day, and I went on to Slingbox, and we just happened to Bob and I caught Vinny's last, 15 minutes of doing the Dodger-Giant game the other day. It was phenomenal. And I'm thinking to myself, why is he retiring? Now, I understand that. He was phenomenal the other day. It's as good as any broadcast I've ever heard Vin do. But I do get the fact that, it's one thing to say, hey, you can really, ratchet it up for the end of your career. It's another thing, I'm sure, if Vinny would look ahead and say, I've got to do 100 games next year.
Yeah.
So God bless him. He's been amazing. I was there on opening day when they honored him. They asked me to MC the ceremony. You couldn't believe it. The fans were going crazy for 10 minutes. And I wasn't here for the last game he did at Dodger Stadium where it ended with a home run. Remarkable. He's a freak of nature. That's the only way I can put it, Dan. There's so many things that made him so great, but he is the connective tissue with generations of Dodger fans.
You're a relish guy.
I like pickles more than relish,
I like
but I know
pickles.
it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah. Now this is chorizo.
Yeah, chorizo. Alan made the chorizo himself from scratch.
Oh, I know.
Then he
I
mixed
heard
it
about
into the
all
blend
morning
of the
long.
burger.
I made this. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay.
I wouldn't put too much on your burger. Let the chorizo be the star. Is what I'm hearing.
Wait, you tell me that after I put tomatoes on.
That's a hammer, man.
You already loaded up. What's that? What's the jus?
Beer cheese.
Barbecue cheese.
Man. Wow. That's great. You don't have to stop at a fast food restaurant on the way home now.
All set.
Somebody followed you one day.
Followed
See if
me?
you were going to stop at a fast food restaurant.
Nice.
And you know what
It's usually
happened?
the Wallingford
You
Burger
did.
King.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I wonder who that was.
Not me.
Original chicken sandwich at Burger King.
I wish I had thought of that.
Wait, that didn't really happen. Who would follow Todd?
They weren't
Other than
planning on
Wallingford.
following Todd.
Oh, they were going that way. Yeah.
They followed Todd, and then they found it funny that you ducked into a...
Wallingford BK.
Percentages are high.
Big fan.
That's good.
I haven't had burger.
Not an onion ring guy. I think we established that a couple days ago.
Good though.
No. Wow. How's the burger?
So
Yeah,
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Saw that one coming.
walked right into that.
I'll catch it.
Oh man. That's
See,
so
watch
good.
this.
I don't hear it.
How's the burger? Sounds good. Never
You
gets
still
old.
didn't get it.
Quiet to extremely loud and obnoxiously chewing.
All right. Why don't you guys close up the show, and I'm going to go.
That seems fair.
Have a good weekend, Dan.
See you later.
Take it easy.
goes out to this audience, this great audience. Look, we go through this together. We may not agree, may get angry at each other, but we go through it together. Got stories that we cover, opinions, but we appreciate you listening and watching. These are long weeks. These are difficult weeks. There are stories that need to be talked about, uncomfortable conversations, but we appreciate your loyalty. You know, I don't mind if you're mad, as long as you're listening or you're watching. So hopefully we get sports back and we talk sports. But this intersection that we've had in the last couple of weeks with serious stories and sports. Those are stories that we have to cover, and hopefully you understand that. Sports just starting to come back, and now you need to take your grilling to a new level. Traeger Grill. Traeger did it again today. These burgers that we have are great. You guys can't eat on the air. No, you can't.
I'm sorry, but I'm disobeying you today.
Remember previous management at AT&T?
Which is why we left the company.
Because they said you can't eat on the air.
That was the tipping point.
And I said, that's it. We're leaving. Thank you, Seton. That burger is great. I'll stay professional. TraegerGrills.com/DP show. This day in sports history, Paulie?
I just have one, but it's pretty good. Wilbur Snap. He was a organ player, like the PA announcer organ player. Yep. At a baseball game. There was a bad call by an umpire named Keith O'Connor. Wilbur Snap played three blind mice in 1985, and the umpire ejected Wilbur Snap from the booth somehow. That's awesome.
Anything else?
Abner Doubleday was born in 1819.
Overrated.
Oh, Muhammad Ali in 79 at 37 years old announced he was retiring as world heavyweight boxing champion.
Yes, Todd.
Mike Vick is 40 today, and Captain Clutch Derek Jeter 46 today.
Oh, jeez.
Same month, same day.
Oh. Are you sure? Are you sure?
Yeah.
Since you,
I checked a few different places on that.
Remember your Monday. How you started Monday is Sandler 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Monday. The exact day.
And then I got the jersey thing.
Then you got Shaq's jersey wrong. Yes.
You know what I love so much about that Adam Sandler thing is that even Adam knew that Todd had it wrong, and he still did it anyway. It was just like, well, I'm just going to ask him first. Like, hey, buddy, but I think you got that info wrong. He still chose to do the interview and then drop that.
There was nothing in our communication when I reached out to him saying, I don't think that's exactly 30 years that day.
Bob in Wisconsin. Hi, Bob. What do you have for me?
Hey, Dan. Hey, Danettes. First time, long time, 5'7", solid 150. Considering I'll be 60 in August. Hey, I'm Dan. I'm a Viking fan living in Wisconsin, still hanging on to the Bud Grant and Purple People Eater days. But more importantly, I'm calling to talk to you about your show last Friday with the NFL doc. I'm a thoracic surgeon. We do everything in the thorax, or the chest, heart, lungs, esophagus. But we're most commonly known as heart surgeons. As to the discussion, who's more important, cardiac surgeons or neurosurgeons? It's close, but my good friend John, who is our chief neurosurgeon, likes to peek his head in my room as I'm sewing on the heart and announce, hey, remember, Bob, you're not a brain surgeon.
Thank you, Doc. I appreciate that. Yeah, we were ranking, like if you go into a cocktail party and you're like, oh, there's Bob over there, heart surgeon. Oh, Tommy here, neurosurgeon. Yes.
That paints a pretty funny picture, though, that doctors are talking trash mid-surgery, poke his head in while I'm sewing up the heart.
Yeah.
Hey, remember, you're not a brain surgeon.
Todd, what did I learn on today's program?
You feel Deflategate was overcovered, the Astros cheating scandal a bit undercovered.
Whether you're working for home or working on your fitness, you want to hear music, and the wireless earbuds from Raycon are the way to go. 15% off your Raycon order at buyraycon.com/Patrick. That's buyraycon.com/Patrick. Thanks for the support. I appreciate the friendship. Do it again on Monday. Have a great weekend. Safe weekend. Talk to you then.